Chapter 1. Mu Qiqi, you killed Grandma. The Mu family doesn't have a daughter like you. From today onwards, get out of the Mu family and never come back. Her father's roar was still ringing beside her ears, but Mu Qiqi was already dragged out of the Mu family's iron gates by a servant. I didn't kill Grandma, it's Grandma's sister. Mu Qiqi wailed. Qiqi, don't shout anymore. Come with me. A plainly dressed middle-aged woman was tugging at Mu Qiqi outside the door. Your mother has entrusted you to me. You will live with me from now on. The Mu family did not want her anymore. She had been mischievous since she was young, which was why she became her sister's scapegoat when Grandma overdosed. Her twin sister Mu Tongxue said, Daddy, it was Sis who fed Grandma the drug. Hence her life was thrown into the 18 levels of hell. Even though they were twins, she took all the blame for her sister because she could not act. This time she was directly chased out of the family. Although she had wanted to leave the Mu family a long time ago, it was not in such a manner. Mu Qiqi hugged herself and cried when she arrived at her aunt's simple residence, and her aunt followed suit. How can the Mu family be so unreasonable? How can a rich young lady live with a poor aunt like me? You're not even 18 yet. Moreover, your uncle, he was a gambler and drunkard who sold everything in the house. Now that Mu Qiqi was here, there was no telling if that scum would remember her and sell her off. Qiqi, you should go to a friend's clinic in a nearby town and stay there for a few days. I'll discuss it with your uncle. My poor child, you're clearly twins, but why are you so different? It was not the first time, and it had always been the same since she was young. Whenever Mu Tongxue cried, she would become the culprit, and whenever she caused trouble outside, it would be her fault. There were many times when Mu Qiqi dreamed that she would marry the son of her enemy when she grew up and piss off her own parents. She would never have imagined that her wish would come true so soon. When Mu Qiqi arrived at the clinic, she was able to help out with some miscellaneous work. After being abandoned by the Mu family, she could only drop out of school. The clinic was located next to the main road, and there were frequent car accidents here. That was why the patients who were sent here had more serious injuries. Mu Qiqi did not have any other thoughts at the moment. All she needed was food and a place to stay. Perhaps deep in her heart she believed that the Mu family would not really abandon her. But 3 months had passed. There was no news from the Mu clan. Perhaps they wouldn't even send anyone to look for her. Qiqi, why are you daydreaming? There's another car accident. Come with me to save people. It was just nightfall when the boss of the clinic woke her up from her chair. Mu Qiqi quickly followed behind him. When they arrived at the scene of the accident, they moved the injured people from the car to the clinic's treatment room. A total of 3 people were rescued. One of the drivers was seriously injured and the other 2 were young men. One of them was seriously injured and the other was only scratched and passed out. Qiqi, help. Mu Qiqi quickly went forward when she heard her boss's shout. She helped the young man who was more seriously injured to the bed. However, when he was lying flat, she realized that man was Xianxia, the crown prince of Huangyao, a demonic being. Mu Qiqi had once attended the same aristocratic school as him, and the 2 of them would often appear on the same bulletin board. The difference was that Xianxia had won some prize, while she had gotten into trouble and was criticized. Naturally, she was just an elementary school student then. Still, there was one weird thing. Xianxia was not an elite student who followed the rules. He was dangerous and bad to the core. Qiqi, take off that man's pants. Hurry. Mu Qiqi quickly reacted when she heard her boss's shout. Oh, okay, his pants too. Mu Qiqi was speechless. It's a human life. What are you spacing out for? The others are saving the heavily injured driver. Hurry up, I need to stop the bleeding from his thigh. In any case, Mu Qiqi was only 18 years old and had never seen that part of a man. That was why it was normal for her to hesitate. Still, to save him, she mustered up her courage and took off the man's pants. First time? The boss could not help chuckling even though he was busy. Mu Qiqi's voice was trembling. Who said that? Well, you should really ask him to marry you now that he's awake. As a matter of fact, the man was not completely unconscious. At the very least, he could hear voices beside his ears and know that his pants had been taken off. And the one who took off his pants was that little troublemaker from the Mu family. He would remember this debt. What's your blood type, Qiqi? This man has lost a lot of blood and needs a transfusion. But where would our clinic have any? The boss asked Mu Qiqi even as he stopped the bleeding. I'm O type. Come, Sacrifice yourself gloriously. Mu Qiqi did not think much about it and gave Xianxia a blood transfusion. Her petite frame was showing great strength in such a moment. Soon Xianxia fell asleep. His handsome face was particularly dazzling under the soft light. How could anyone be so good-looking? Mu Qiqi watched over Xianxia as he rested, while his assistant rested next door. The boss of the clinic was contacting the police, and the night finally came to an end in silence. The next day Mu Qiqi was about to fetch some water for Xianxia when her aunt came to the clinic. Qiqi, I'm here to take you home. Uncle has agreed for you to stay. Although Mu Qiqi wanted to stay in the clinic, she had no family here and had to continue her studies. That was why she left with her aunt after saying goodbye to the boss of the clinic. But how could she know that what awaited her was her uncle's trap? After a night's rest, Xianxia finally regained his spirit. When he opened his eyes, he found his assistant beside him. Young master, you're awake. I'll help you up, but your pants are torn. At the mention of his pants, Xianxia remembered the little girl who looked at his body. Where's the girl from the Mu family? Xianxia asked hoarsely, half propping himself up. She was taken away by her aunt. I didn't expect you to know her, sir. The boss of the clinic explained as he entered the room. Poor girl. She was chased out by the Mu family, and there's no telling if it's a blessing or a curse for her to leave with her aunt. Why? Her uncle is a beast. He drinks, gambles, and sells people. He will definitely do such things. Not to mention this little girl of the Mujia is soft and tender. She can be sold for a lot of money. Taking off his pants and leaving just like that? He had never been touched by a woman in his life. Young master, we're going back to Jianchuan soon. The assistant reminded him. Chapter 2. Meanwhile, Mu Qiqi was following her aunt home when her uncle studied her from head to toe in surprise. You're already 18 and you're growing into a fine lady. You really are the daughter of a rich family and your skin is so white. Look, what did Aunt Zipe say? Uncle would definitely like you. Mu Qiqi's aunt whispered into her ear in delight. You can live with me in peace from now on and ignore the Mu family. Mu Qiqi put down her backpack. She was very uncomfortable with her uncle's gaze, but she held it in. Thank you, uncle. I have to go to work after picking you up. You should rest at home today and I'll bring you to a nearby school in 2 days. You have to study after all. Mu Qiqi was panicking, especially since her aunt was not around and her uncle was the only one left at home. She quickly said, Aunt Zipe, I'll go with you. Don't be afraid. Your uncle will be leaving soon. Just lock the door. Mu Qiqi's aunt was still holding on to hope that her husband was really willing to accept Mu Qiqi. Mu Qiqi said nothing else, but the fear in her heart did not diminish. As soon as the two of them left the house, she quickly locked the door. Her uncle, who was pretending to leave, smirked. Quite the vigilant one. But what good is this broken door? Soon, her uncle arrived at the door with 3 or 4 men. You'll definitely be satisfied with the goods I'm introducing you this time. The daughter the Mu family doesn't want, she's so young. Mu Qiqi was getting more and more afraid as she listened to the commotion outside. Qiqi, I'm back. I've bought you good food. Hurry up and open the door. Mu Qiqi did not reply, her palms sweating. She knew that her life would be over if she opened the door, but her fate would not change even if she did not. She could only hope that her aunt would come back soon. Aunt Zipe, please come back soon. Break the door. Mu Qiqi's uncle lost his patience and ordered the thugs he hired. A loud bang could be heard. The broken door opened and Mu Qiqi leaned against the window. In that very moment there was only despair in her heart. Qiqi, you're so naughty. Looking at her uncle's ferocious face, Mu Qiqi cried out. But how could she struggle against these men? Uncle, please let me go, I beg you. I can do anything for you. 200,000? Are you worth 200,000? Can you give me 200,000? Mu Qiqi turned to look at the window behind her. She was on the 3rd floor, but it was better than being sold. With that thought, she turned and jumped out of the window. However, the other party reached out and grabbed her long legs. She didn't even have the chance to jump down. Perhaps afraid that she would continue to resist, the hooligan knocked her out and carried her on his shoulder. This product is really good. I won't sell it to just anyone. The buyer left with a deep smile. Meanwhile, Mu Qiqi's uncle only cared about taking the money and having a good time. Who cared about Mu Qiqi's life? Mu Jia didn't want them anymore. Xianxia asked his assistant to find Mu Qiqi's aunt's house, but they were too late. She had already been kidnapped. Muqiqi's aunt was crying and throwing a tantrum at home. But how could she argue with a man who was like a beast? What do we do now, young master? The assistant asked. Go back to Jianchuan and find out where she was sold. Xianxia said coldly before closing his eyes. He didn't have to care about a girl's business, but there was a voice in his heart that kept reminding him that he would regret it if he didn't. Yes, young master. After Muqiqi was taken away, she woke up in a small dark hut. There was food on the floor and water beside her, but she had no hope. She didn't know what would happen to her next. Mu Tongxue was enjoying the treatment of a rich young lady at home, while she was reduced to the point where she had to be sold. It was impossible to say that she didn't hate it. She hated it so much. Soon night fell. Muqiqi heard the commotion and knew that someone had come to capture her, but she had nowhere to run. After the iron door was opened, a woman in a short black fur skirt, along with 2 other women, grabbed her out. Dress yourself up. Don't get hurt. Hence, Muqiqi was dragged out to dress herself up. She was dressed in clothes that didn't suit her age. She was wearing a revealing black skirt and heavy makeup. Send her to Hill Hotel room 1105. The woman who led the group ordered her subordinates after studying Muqiqi. Then when she saw Muqiqi's face full of grief, she gave her a warning. And you behave yourself, or I'll have your limbs broken and you'll have to beg on the streets. Don't be a chaste girl when you're already sold. Muqiqi's limbs were restrained and she was sent straight to the hotel. The other party didn't even give her time to breathe and locked her in room 1105. There were people guarding outside the door, probably waiting for the buyer. Muqiqi hid at the foot of the bed, filled with despair towards life. Soon the sound of voices came from outside the door. Then the door was pushed open. Muqiqi screamed by reflex, wanting to call for help. But the tall man caught her and threw her onto the bed. Don't resist. I don't have the strength to hold you anymore. Muqiqi suddenly quietened down. She could feel that the voice was familiar. Then she tentatively switched on the bedside lamp and for some reason froze on the bed when she saw Xianxia sitting on the floor with a pale face. You, go wash your face. You're so ugly. Xianxia was injured in the first place, but his dangerous aura didn't diminish. I'm injured. What do you think I can do to you? Muqiqi was temporarily relieved at those words. She strode into the bathroom and washed herself from head to toe. Am I saved? Muqiqi couldn't help asking herself. She was already afraid of the people around her. She didn't dare to trust anyone, even if that person was someone she was familiar with. But what if he was a man who was worse than her uncle? What should she do? With that thought, Muqiqi locked herself in the bathroom, not daring to go out at all. After waiting in the bedroom for 2 hours and not seeing Muqiqi, Xianxia reluctantly got up and called the hotel's customer service. Soon they opened the bathroom door for Xianxia. Stupid. Muqiqi sat on the toilet, her expression blank. Xianxia told the hotel manager that someone had committed suicide in the bathroom, and the manager's face turned pale with fright. He quickly opened the door. But Muqiqi was still foolish enough to think that she was safe inside. Xianxia simply threw a towel over her head. Come out. Muqiqi hugged herself and walked to Xianxia timidly, only to find him saying, Help me take off my pants. Chapter 3. Xianxia put a hand on his knee when he saw that and looked at her with interest. I wound tore because of you. Shouldn't you treat it for me? Muqiqi quickly said when she saw Xianxiao's blood-soaked trousers. I'll bandage it for you right away. With that she knelt on the floor. The moonlight shone on them and there was a yellow bedside lamp beside them. Xianxiao's lips curled unwittingly as he watched Muqiqi lower her head. In the darkness, Xianxiao's gaze was sharp, and he looked like a perfect vampire in an ancient castle. Is the eldest daughter of the Mu family now a bedmate? Muqiqi could not answer, but her throat was burning and choking. At that, Xianxia simply hooked his arm around Muqiqi's neck and told her, I can help you since Huang Yao would have an extra pair of chopsticks. But, if you follow me you must forget who you are. I Xianxia don't keep ingrates. Muqiqi was afraid of those eyes. They were sharp and confident like a falcon, but she had to face them. Why would you help me? Xianxia leaned close to Muqiqi's nose and smiled like a demon. Because it's fun. Then Xianxia let go of Muqiqi. Bandage it properly. If it tore again I'll eat you. Xianxia was unfathomable to Muqiqi right now, and she did not have the guts to do so. All she knew was that she was trembling in fear even when she received someone else's pity. And yet Xianxia said that she would follow him. Could she follow him? Soon, Muqiqi finished bandaging Xingxiao's wound and tidied his clothes. That was when Xingxiao asked her, "Does it look good down there?" Muqiqi thought that he was referring to the time in the clinic when she took off his underwear, which was why she blushed and stuttered. I didn't do it on purpose. You were in an emergency at the time and needed treatment. I'm asking you, does the floor look good? You have to keep your head down." Muqiqi was speechless. Xianxia suddenly chuckled when he saw Muqiqi's reaction, and got up to sit on the sofa. "If you keep being so cute, I might really eat you." Muqiqi stood up as well. When she saw Xianxia sitting on the sofa, she was finally a little less guarded. Xianxia looked at her and suddenly felt sleepy. He pulled the blanket off the big bed. "Go to sleep. I still have things to do tomorrow." Muqiqi was not given a place to sleep. There was only one big bed in the bedroom and she could only take a rest on the sofa, although she did not think that she could really fall asleep. What identity should she use to follow this man? Everyone in Jianchuan knew that the Mu family and the Xing family were mortal enemies, but the one who saved her was the son of her enemy. Moreover, what would Xingxiao do for her? After letting her imagination run wild all night, Muqiqi was woken up by the sound of someone washing up in the bathroom. She promptly sat up on the sofa, only to find Xingxiao's assistant standing in a corner. "Miss Mu, it's time to go." "Where are we going?" Muqiqi asked in confusion. "Naturally, it's where we should go." Xingxiao was 26 years old and the 8th son of the Xing family. Since his father was running Huangyao, he was called the Crown Prince. Everyone said that he was bad, and it was not just his personality. It was also rumored that he was mean to others, doing whatever he liked and doing all sorts of bad things. No one in the Xing family could provoke that demon, and so he had always been free and unfettered. Muqiqi was sitting in Xingxiao's car as she recalled those things. Of course, it was not the sports car that was wrecked in the accident. "Where are we going?" "You'll know when we get there." Xingxiao's assistant was called Jing Yun. He had been by his side since he was a child and was as much a brother as an assistant. Even so, deep down in his bones he would never dare to claim such a high position. Muqiqi was very nervous, but did not dare to ask when she saw Xingxiao sitting in the front passenger seat. That was until they arrived at a familiar place. It was her aunt's house. Muqiqi did not know what Xingxiao was doing and could only follow him out of the car. Muqiqi's aunt threw herself at Muqiqi in tears when she saw her. "My child, my poor child, I've let you down. I want to kill that scum of a man like your uncle." Muqiqi's uncle was puzzled when he saw Muqiqi. Wasn't she sold to the big boss? Could the big boss be dissatisfied and returned her? No. He naturally recognized Xingxiao when he saw him leaning against the white car. It was the crown prince of the Xing family. What was he doing here? Whatever the case may be, Muqiqi's uncle knew that he could not afford to offend him, and quickly greeted him with a smile. "Thank you, young Master Xing, for bringing Muqiqi back." "Bringing her back?" Xingxiao shook his head and told Muqiqi's uncle, "I just want to tell you that you can't afford to offend this girl from now on." "Young Master Xing, are you joking? She's the daughter of your enemy. Didn't the Mu family say that they don't want her anymore?" At that, Xingxiao turned to Muqiqi. "That scum sold you out last night. How do you want to get back at him?" In that very moment, Muqiqi suddenly understood why Xingxiao had brought her here. Still, Muqiqi was still young and had not learned how to be ruthless. "Can I really do anything?" Muqiqi asked tentatively. "Apart from your worthless life," Xingxiao said, shrugging. "Think carefully. I won't care if you let him go and he sells you out again." Muqiqi's uncle's legs turned to jelly at Xingxiao's words and he quickly said, "Young Master Xing, please let me go. I was blinded by greed. I didn't know that you and Muqiqi were related. I'll return you the money. Please let me go. I'll kneel before you." How could a commoner dare to go against a rich family? Muqiqi's uncle was very sensible, and he was sure that Muqiqi would not dare to do anything to him, since she was just an 18-year-old girl. But he was wrong. Once Muqiqi remembered the humiliation she suffered yesterday and how detestable her uncle was, she could not bear it. That was why she mustered her courage and told Xingxiao, "I want him gone from Jianchuan. I can't see him again." Xiao laughed at that. And here I thought it was some handcuff and stomp. Still, at least you've spoken. Muqiqi, from today onwards, you're in cahoots with me. I like it when you're a little bad. Then Xiao gestured for Muqiqi to get into the car and instructed Jingyun, make that scum disappear and take Muqiqi's aunt away so that she can be taken care of. Understand, young master. You should return to Jianchuan now. Jingyun reminded him. Xiao had already wasted a lot of time for Muqiqi. His master and mistress were asking questions, but he had taken in the daughter of his enemy halfway. Also, give them the house in the suburbs of Jianchuan. Chapter 4. On the way to the apartment, Muqiqi's aunt couldn't help asking, "What's going on, Qiqi?" "Auntie, I might have to follow Xiao from now on. He saved me yesterday, and didn't let me be sold to someone else." Muqiqi explained to her aunt with teary eyes. "And how I treated uncle, that scum deserves it." Pausing, Muqiqi's aunt added, "But it's ridiculous no matter how you put it. What status does young Master Xing have to take you in? Not to mention the feud between your two families." Muqiqi's aunt was rather worried. She was afraid that Muqiqi would walk into a tiger's mouth again. "I don't know, but I have nowhere else to go. Why don't we thank young Master Xing for helping us get rid of your uncle? Then you can come home with me. I'll work to support you," Muqiqi's aunt suggested. Most of all, she was feeling very uneasy. Muqiqi shook her head reluctantly. "I'm abandoned by the Mu family, Aunt Zipei. There's no telling what Tongxue would do if she learns that I'm in your house. I can't stand it anymore, and I can't stand how Mom and Dad spoil her endlessly while hurting me. I don't know what will happen if I follow Xiao, but I don't want to be the scapegoat for Tongxue like before." Muqiqi's aunt nodded bitterly at that. "All right. If that's what you've decided, I'll stay by your side. Morals and ethics are all tossed aside." "Thank you, Aunt Zipei." Why would Muqiqi's aunt agree with Muqiqi's idea? That was because yesterday, when she learned that Muqiqi had been sold by her husband, not only did she plan to divorce that scum, she even called her sister immediately. But that was Muqiqi's biological mother, and she did not feel anything when she heard the news. So be it. Keep an eye on her and don't let this get out. It's an embarrassment to the Mu family. Well, since Muqiqi's own mother was treating Muqiqi that way, there was no need for her to return to the Mu family. Now it was up to Xiao to arrange things for Muqiqi. Xiao's assistant had arranged for Muqiqi and her aunt to stay in an apartment on the outskirts of Jianchuan, but they passed by the school for nobles that they had attended together on the way there. Muqiqi was on the verge of tears. Su Zipei comforted her. "Qiqi, don't be sad. Since we are now with the Sheng family, let's forget about that family. I just can't accept that Mu Tongxue is sitting there safe and sound, enjoying all the love." At the front, Xiao's assistant couldn't help asking Muqiqi after listening to their conversation, "If you were given the chance to return to this school, would you still give in to your sister?" Dream on. In order to make her younger sister happy, she had made a mess of her studies. In order to make her sister happy, she would do anything, even losing herself. In the future, it would never happen again. Meanwhile, Xiao was driving home on his own. He was scolded by his family for getting into a car accident, and was then allowed to rest in his room. Soon Jingyun, his assistant, returned to report to Xiao about Muqiqi and her aunt's current situation. Be that as it may, he couldn't help asking, "Young master, this is an 18-year-old girl, not a cat or a dog. You have to take responsibility since you brought her home." "I know," Xiao replied, leaning back on the sofa and closing his eyes. "It's not easy to take care of someone. Do you want me to stand by and watch as she is sold?" Xiao asked Jingyun in return, straightening up. "We can let her live with her aunt after we save her. We shouldn't interfere with the Mu family's affairs. Are you going to listen to me or you?" Xiao teased him playfully. The assistant's face froze and he quickly answered, "You, but if Master and Madam find out that you're keeping a girl outside, then don't let them know," Xiao said, rising to his feet. Jingyun had the feeling that his young master was being childish, bringing someone home just like that and saying that he would take care of her. But could he afford it? He was clearly a wanton person who loved freedom. But while Jingyun was spacing out, Xiao had already reached the door. "Young master, where are you going?" "I'll get someone to change my bandages." As for who, it was definitely the person who stripped him naked. When Mu Qiqi reached the apartment, she felt that she was no different from when she was with the Mu family. After all, the apartment was too luxurious. Still, she didn't know where her future lay even though she was in such a luxurious place. Qiqi, does young Master Xing mean to raise you like a mistress? Her Aunt Sipei was rather worried. If that's the case, I wouldn't let you, even if I die. Aunt Sipei might be thinking too much. I'm more or less disgusted with her current figure. Xianxia promptly put the key on the table when he entered, studying Mu Qiqi with a curious look. Young Master Xing, change my bandages. Xianxia crooked a finger at Mu Qiqi. Young Master Xing, let me do this. I'm sure I can do it better than Mu Qiqi. Su Zipei quickly stopped them from being alone. After all, Mu Qiqi was too innocent. What, Aunt Sipei? Are you afraid that I'll eat her up? Xianxia smiled, the demonic air showing between his brows. It's fine, Aunt Sipei. I trust him. Mu Qiqi quickly said before crouching in front of Xianxia in the guest room downstairs. Take off your pants. Xianxia propped his elbows on his knees and reached out to hold Mu Qiqi's chin. Miss Mu, do you think that you're living under someone else's roof? I'm just scared. I don't know where my future lies or if I should leave tomorrow. Mu Qiqi said tearfully. I told you. You're a Xing now that you're with me. As long as I'm here, you'll have food to eat and a place to sleep. What? You don't believe me? Xianxia asked Mu Qiqi seriously. I believe you. Mu Qiqi nodded. She appeared very sincere. Even so, Xianxia knew that it was difficult for Mu Qiqi to shake off her fear at once. Even so, he did not force her. Find a school. You should be in school now, and if I remember correctly, you're only in your 3rd year. Yeah. Mu Qiqi nodded. She knew very well that she could no longer hope to return to her old school after being chased out of the Mu family. She had neither status nor money now. Still, Xingzhao's next words left her stunned. You definitely can't go to Van Gogh Royal Academy. Yeah. Eton then. Mu Qiqi did a double take. It was for no other reason than the fact that Eton was even more prestigious than Van Gogh. Why would Xingzhao ask her to go there? I'll have Jing Yun handle your admission tomorrow. Mu Qiqi, you'll know if you're really worse than your sister when you get into school. Chapter 5. Well, if the Mu family comes looking for me one day, would you let me go back? Xingzhao straightened at the question and hooked his arm around Mu Qiqi's neck, pulling his handsome face closer. That's why I'm letting you choose now. Because I've told you that the Sheng family doesn't raise ingrates. One could say that Mu Qiqi was young and naive, or that she was innocent and gullible. Still, deep down she was more willing to follow Xingzhao because he had that kind of alluring charm. Especially his maroon eyes, which were as beautiful as amber. It was as if there was nothing to fear as long as she followed him. Moreover, you must learn to become stronger by following me or no one could help you. In that moment, Mu Qiqi nodded solemnly. Let's change the dressing. Xingzhao appeared nonchalant throughout the process, but Mu Qiqi could feel that he was deliberately avoiding her gaze because he was afraid that she would blush and feel awkward. Nonetheless, after the dressing was done, Xingzhao asked, You're already 18, right? Just a little. I'll be 18 a day before Christmas. Mu Qiqi replied. At her answer, Xingzhao deliberately lifted Mu Qiqi's chin again. You're only 17 and you're already taking off a man's pants. You're so naughty, Mu Qiqi. I didn't do it on purpose. Mu Qiqi quickly explained. In the end, it was her blood that saved him. Therefore Xingzhao stopped teasing her. Your aunt won't believe that I'm innocent if you keep blushing. Mu Qiqi clutched her cheek and bit her lip, revealing a pretty mole on the side of her nose. She got up and went to the bathroom to calm herself down, but Xingzhao was already gone when she stepped out of the door. Mu Qiqi felt disappointed for no reason. She always felt that this person came and went without a trace and was too free. How was it, Qiqi? He didn't do anything to you, did he? Su Zipei asked Mu Qiqi when she saw Xingzhao leave. Mu Qiqi shook her head and told her aunt, Aunt Zipei, Xingzhao told me to go to school. Of course you have to go to school. I just checked and there's a good school nearby. I'll have to work hard, Aunt Zipei. He said he's arranging for me to go to Eton. Mu Qiqi interrupted her. Then, isn't it better than the school your sister is studying in now? Su Zipei did not know much about the aristocratic schools, but she knew about the few good schools in the country. Although I don't think it's right, I'm happy to hear that you're going to a better school than your sister. Susie Pei laughed at herself. I can't believe my enemies are the ones who are going to give me what I can't. Auntie supports you. Mu Chichi reached out and hugged Zipei, feeling grateful inside. Thank you, Aunt Zipei, for standing by my side at a time like this. Chichi, you must live up to expectations. You must make the Mu clan regret abandoning you. At night, Jing Yun delivered a new school uniform, a school bag and a gold card. Your aunt is here, so you don't need to take care of the house. But you need a driver. He will come tomorrow to take you to school. You've reappeared in the sights of others and you're a daughter abandoned by the Mu family. It's inevitable that people would be suspicious if you suddenly attend a better school, which is why young master has arranged a sponsor for you. He's thought of everything. Mu Chichi said in awe. Young master has so many good points, but he's also a bad person. How is he bad? Mu Chichi only felt that Xianxia was dangerous, but she still felt that he was not a bad person. Jing Yun smiled but did not answer. Rest early. Well, what if I want to see Xianxia? Mu Chichi quickly pressed. He will appear when he wants to, so don't hold any expectations for him. Jing Yun was very straightforward with his words because he was afraid that Xianxia would get into some unnecessary trouble. Helping Mu Chichi was fine, but Mu Chichi was already at the age where she was experiencing her first awakening of love. If she fell in love with his young master, then that would not be good. All right. Mu Chichi's heart skipped a beat. Still, it must be said that Jing Yun had poked a sore spot in her heart. It was the age where it was easy to develop feelings for someone at 18, and she herself was afraid that she would have those messy thoughts about Xianxia. In fact, Xianxia was in his sports car outside the house, and only asked coldly when he saw Jing Yun leave. Why are you taking so long? I have to say what I need to say, young master. Jing Yun replied respectfully. Such as, so that Mu Chichi doesn't have any improper thoughts about you. Xianxia couldn't help chuckling when he heard that. But what if I have improper thoughts about her? Jing Yun was speechless. Scope. You have to keep an eye on the school. Xianxia had no position in Huangyao at the moment, but there was no business he could not handle. It was not without reason that he was called the Crown Prince, but he was unwilling to be restrained by the office, which was why he had always been free. He would only appear when his father summoned him. He was a special existence in the Xing family, while Huang Yao was in the business of diamonds. That night, Mu Chichi tried on her new uniform and picked up her books again. She never imagined that she would one day return to school after what she went through with the Mu family, and the best one at that. On TV, eldest uncle of the Mu family was being interviewed by a financial magazine, apologizing for delaying the interview. He even mentioned that something sad had happened in his family recently. His mother had passed away. It's about my twin nieces. One of them is no longer with the Mu family, having been chased out. It has something to do with that. Mu Chichi felt very hurt by the way the TV played it down and the host's teasing. Susie Pei quickly turned off the TV. Don't watch it, Chichi. Go rest. You have school tomorrow. Okay. Mu Chichi nodded. Then she got up and returned to her bedroom. Mu Chichi felt insecure when she saw the room that did not belong to her. It was only when she remembered that Xianxia had sat at the foot of her bed during the day that she felt less helpless. So it was easy to develop a sense of dependence. The next morning, Mu Chichi woke up early and met her chauffeur, Old Lin, as she left her house. Good morning, Miss Mu. You can call me Uncle Lin. Please get in the car. Mu Chichi got into the car in her uniform and passed by Van Gogh Royal Academy, where she saw Mu Tongxue, the daughter of the Mu family, entering the gates. And she would be going to a better school than Van Gogh Royal Academy. Chapter 6. Being a transfer student, Mu Chichi would definitely feel conflicted. She was afraid that others would know that she was chased out of the Mu family, and that she was framed for her grandmother's death. She was prepared to be stared at in a strange way. However, when they arrived at the school, they saw 2 rows of teachers standing neatly at Eton's entrance. Among them were 2 vice principals of Eton. I wonder who's so distinguished to have so many people greeting me. Mu Chichi muttered to herself in curiosity. However, Old Lin, who was driving, was chuckling. Miss Mu, they're all here to greet you. Me? Mu Chichi asked in surprise, pointing at herself. Old Lin parked the black car beside the gates of a luxurious building and got out to open the door for Mu Chichi. Mu Qiqi hesitantly got out of the car and found the 2 rows of teachers bowing reverently at her. "Welcome, Miss Mu." Mu Qiqi froze where she was. "Go, Miss Mu. No one would dare to look down on you here," Old Lin said, seizing the moment. "It's a special arrangement from our young master." Did Xianxia not find such a grand welcoming ceremony a little too much? Still, he was a man who lived under the sun. He liked to be the center of attention. Everyone knew his demonic side, but they still had to bow to him because of his status as the crown prince of Huangyao and his personal charisma. And now that Mu Qiqi was with him, then no matter what kind of treatment he received, Mu Qiqi would not be left out. That made Mu Qiqi feel a sense of importance she had never felt before. "Mu Qiqi, everything about you has really changed." She had been afraid and conflicted at first, but when she saw the envious gazes of so many people, there was a hint of confidence in her even as she averted her gaze. Why would Xianxia make such arrangements? Because Xianxia had come to the little mansion last night and Mu Qiqi was already asleep. To learn about Mu Qiqi's life with the Mu family, he knocked on Su Zipei's door. Su Zipei was surprised as well. She knew very well what kind of person Xianxia was, and yet such a famous person was actually asking about her Mu Qiqi. That was why the unease in her heart kept rising. "Young Master Xing, are you trying to use Mu Qiqi to take revenge on the Mu family?" Xianxia chuckled playfully. "What does it have to do with me? It's the previous generation's fault. I'm just curious as to why. She's a pair of twins, but that lass is treated differently. Don't tell me you don't know. You might be a poor relative of the Mu family, but you would definitely know the inside story." She took a deep breath before answering seriously. "Young Master Xing, you really can't imagine the hurt and lack of confidence that her birth family had brought upon her. When Mu Qiqi was in the Mu family, she often caused trouble. She has been like this since she was young. However, the uncles of the Mu family have always been eyeing the management rights of the company in my brother-in-law's hands. They often use Qiqi's troubles to cause trouble for my brother-in-law. So my brother-in-law has always disliked this troublesome daughter of his. As for Mu Qiqi's younger sister, Tongxue, she was given more attention because of her delicate body. Moreover, she was good at coaxing her grandparents, which was why Mu Qiqi was often ignored by the family. As time went by, the Mu family simply didn't realize that they treated their sisters so differently. And Mu Qiqi's chased out of the family this time. Aside from her grandmother's death, I'm guessing that Mu Qiqi's uncles were using it as a pretext to seize control of the company. My brother-in-law had to chase Mu Qiqi away so harshly to shut those uncles' mouths and leave them speechless. I heard all that from my sister, and I have my own guesses too. Su Zipei could not hold back her tears even as she said those words. You're right, young Master Xing. Twins should be treated the same. Is there any child who isn't loved by their parents? And yet my brother-in-law did it. Mu Qiqi had a hard life. She was born into a rich family, but she never felt her parents' love. I've seen my brother-in-law teach Mu Qiqi a few times. He doesn't leave her any dignity at all. I only believed it when I saw it with my own eyes. Su Zipei's aunt only knew that Mu Qiqi loved to cause trouble, but she did not know that Mu Tongxue was the one who framed most of those incidents, because Mu Tongxue knew that her parents would love her even more that way. Xianxia was silent after hearing Su Zipei out, and only rose from the sofa after some time. And Xianxia will say the ugly things first. Mu Qiqi has everything I have in the Xing family. But in return you have to be loyal to the Xing family on the surface since you live off the Xing family. If I find out that you're still in contact with the Mu family, I'll let you try my tricks. Su Zipei nodded repeatedly at that. Don't worry, young Master Xing. My words carry little weight and it's not worth mentioning. I just hope that Mu Qiqi can have a bright future. I'll do anything for you if you help Mu Qiqi. I've never had a child in my life, so Mu Qiqi is my own daughter. Xianxia nodded in satisfaction at her answer. Well, I'll tell you that I have Mu Qiqi's blood in my body. Xianxia was referring to the blood transfusion Mu Qiqi had given him. It feels as if I'm living with her, which is why I can't leave her alone. Because what's mine is mine and I'd feel terrible if others bully it. I'll be frank with you now. Don't be so paranoid from now on. I don't have the patience to explain things to you. Understand, young Master Xing. Su Zipei replied firmly. As long as Xianxia was really good to Mu Qiqi, she would not care what she did. Mu Qiqi will go to school tomorrow. You have to help her adapt to her new life as soon as possible, and she'd better learn to walk sideways with me. Xianxia was dangerous, domineering, and ruthless. He was a man of his word. And behind him doing things his own way, there was actually an incomparably powerful support. Was it her fortune or misfortune that such a man was willing to help Wuxia? And that was the reason Wuxia was received so grandly by the Eton nobles in the morning. Wuxia no longer had to suffer Mu Tongshua's oppression after she returned to school. Before, she had deliberately slacked off in her studies and messed up her exams to avoid being framed by Mu Tongxue, also that Mu Tongxue would be happy and not bother her in front of her parents. Now she wanted others to see her true ability. Thanks to Xing Zhao's flawless arrangements, the students did not suspect or pay too much attention to Wuxia's identity, which made Wuxia lower her guard even more, and she had Xing Zhao to thank for all that. Chapter 7. Knowing that Wuxia was adapting well in Eton, Xing Zhao rarely appeared in front of the two of them. But the more that was the case, the more Wuxia wanted to see him. Even so, she had no way of contacting him. On the other hand, Jing Yun came once. Wuxia asked him to tell Xing Zhao that he was invited to the little mansion, but Jing Yun did not tell Xing Zhao what she was thinking. After all, Jing Yun believed that Xing Zhao had done more than enough for her. He did not want Wuxia to come into contact with Xing Zhao unless it was something important. Wuxia would sit in the living room a little longer every day just to wait for Xing Zhao. But the longer she waited, the more disappointed she became. Chichi, the mock exam is tomorrow. You should rest early tonight. Su Zipei arranged and took care of Wuxia's diet. Aunt Zipei, I'm watching TV. Wuxia stared at the screen without blinking. Because on that small screen, Xing Zhao was dressed in formal attire and cutting the ribbon for a famous jewelry store with a model. That was probably the closest she had ever been to Xing Zhao. And yet he was so far away, just like a distant and untouchable dream. That night, Xing Zhao was stopped by his friend as he left the banquet. Young Master Xing, where are you going? Are you a man? There are so many beauties here and you don't like any of them? Xing Zhao chuckled when he saw his friend swaying left and right. I have a hardcore taste. I really don't like most people. 'Tis how boring. I'll leave you to your own devices then. Xing Zhao opened the door of his sports car, suddenly remembering that he was very close to the little mansion. It had been days since he last saw the little girl from the Mu family, and he simply did not believe Jing Yun's routine report. That was why he drove straight to the little mansion, and found that the light in the little girl's room was still on. Su Zipei was already asleep and there was probably no one to open the door for him. That was why he simply bent down to pick up a pebble and threw it at the window of the little girl's room. Wuxia poked her head out when she heard the sound and found Xing Zhao downstairs. She quickly went downstairs and opened the door, her face full of excitement. Why are you back? Did Jing Yun tell you that I wanted to see you? Is that why you're back? Xing Zhao frowned when he heard what the little girl said. Jing Yun did not mention that to him at all. However, he remained calm and asked, Why do you want to see me? About the matter at school. I want to thank you even though I know that this is nothing to you. But it doesn't matter. I have a mock exam tomorrow. I'm more confident after seeing you tonight. Xing Zhao never thought that after 26 years of freedom, someone's expectations would make him feel a little worried. As expected, fatherly love was overflowing. Go in. I'm leaving, Xing Zhao suddenly said coldly to Wuxia. Oh, then when can I see you again? I can only see you through the TV now. Wuxia said dejectedly, pointing at the TV in the living room. When your national ranking surpasses your sister, I'll let you see her. Xing Zhao did not want Wuxia to have any expectations of him, but Wuxia's answer was very simple. I will. Although she had taken a break from school for a few months, the third year of high school was mainly about revision, and she was working so hard now. Moreover, it was not that she could not study before but that she just answered the questions randomly. All right, it's a promise. With those words, Xing Zhao turned, opened the car door and got in. Wuxia watched him drive away. Although she was upset, she reminded herself not to rely on Xing Zhao too much. When she returned to her room, Wuxia stared blankly at Xing Zhao's personal information on the internet. Now, apart from taking revenge against the Mu family, she seemed to have found a goal. She wanted to get closer to Xing Zhao. No one would have thought that a transfer student like her would be able to achieve such results in her first mock exam. Only Wuxia knew that she had risked her life. The Ministry of Education would announce the rankings for the national mock exam, and Mu Qiqi was ranked top 5 in Eton and 27th in the country. Even so, she could not surpass her sister Mu Tongxue. Moreover, the difference between them was just 2 ranks. Mu Tongxue was 25th. On the day the results were announced, Mu Qiqi saw the people in her school pointing fingers at her. She had become famous with a single exam, and her classmates saw her in a different light. Even so, she did not achieve her goal. Didn't that mean she wouldn't be able to see him again? Mu Qiqi went home with a sad face, but Su Zipei was very excited, hugging her and kissing her fiercely. Qiqi, I didn't expect you to do so well in your exams. You used to be at the bottom of the whole school. I wonder what the Mu family's faces would look like if they knew that you were on par with Mu Tongxue. It's not enough. I will surpass her. Mu Qiqi swore inwardly. It was true. Mu Tongxue saw her own results after the results were announced, and noticed Mu Qiqi, who was just one name away from her. Was Mu Qiqi her sister? Her sister was clearly never going to return to the Mu family, and her results were abysmal. How could she appear on the national rankings? Puzzled, Mu Tongxue entered her mother's room and wrapped her arms around her neck. Where's my sister now? Mama Mu quickly closed the door when she heard the word, sister, and told her daughter, don't mention your sister at home. But I think she's so pitiful. She left home at such a young age. Even if it's her fault for killing Granny, she definitely didn't do it on purpose. Your uncles almost ate your father because your sister killed your granny, and it took a lot of effort to suppress the matter. Listen to me, don't mention your sister in front of your father. Moreover, Mama Mu remembered the phone call her sister had made saying that Mu Qiqi had been sold by her brother-in-law. Now wasn't it ruined too? That made it even more impossible for her to return to the Mu family. Moreover, what? Nothing. Just pretend that you don't have a sister. Mama Mu said, stroking Mu Tongshua's soft hair. Mama Mu was a submissive person who always obeyed her husband, which was why she had no right to speak when it came to her daughter's matters. Moreover, Papa Mu was always blaming her for not teaching Mu Qiqi well. Now that Mu Qiqi was gone, it was a relief for everyone. She would never dare to save Mu Qiqi because her husband would scold her to death if he found out. Still, she simply didn't know that they didn't have to worry about Mu Qiqi's life anymore. Mu Tongxue was very happy. It meant that her sister would never come back to fight her for love. As for the Mu Qiqi in the rankings, it was probably a coincidence that they shared the same name. Chapter 8. Mu Tongxue was still worried. She knew that her mother had entrusted Mu Qiqi to her poor aunt, and although she would not be able to play any tricks, she wanted to see it with her own eyes so that she could be at ease. So the next morning Mu Tongxue deliberately woke up early and had the chauffeur send her to the poor district where Su Zipei lived. Miss, it's dirty there. Don't get off later, just tell me if you need anything. Thank you, Uncle Zhong, Mu Tongxue said politely to the chauffeur. She had always been the perfect young lady of the Mu family in front of others. Beautiful, noble, and considerate. Sai, we are sisters after all. You are the only one who cares about Miss. The chauffeur thought that she had come to visit Mu Qiqi, and was touched by her sentimental behavior. Uncle Zhong, there's no one at my aunt's house. Could you ask around for me? Yes, Mississippi. Please wait here. The chauffeur quickly got off and returned to the car, his expression somber. What's wrong? Miss. The neighbors said that they saw with their own eyes that Miss was sold by your beastly uncle. He was sold. Mu Tongxue was very happy to hear that, but she deliberately lowered her head and looked very sad. In fact, she could guess that it was not surprising that her uncle sold her sister since he loved money so much. Miss, don't be sad. Let's go, Uncle Zhong. Poor sister. Since her sister was sold, the Mu Qiqi who appeared on the results report could not be her sister anymore. She really didn't expect that her uncle, who was worse than a beast, would actually help her so much. From now on, she no longer had to worry about a person who looked almost identical to her appearing in the family and competing with her for the favor of the family. Don't tell Dad, Uncle Zhong. You know he doesn't like to talk about my sister. I'm afraid he'll be upset and take it out on her. Don't worry, Miss. In the chauffeur's mind, Mu Tongxue was kind and considerate, and would never look down on him just because he was a chauffeur. Only Mu Qiqi and Mu Tongxue knew how vicious she was. On the other hand, Mu Qiqi was sad that she could not beat Mu Tongxue, but she could not tell if she was upset because of the ranking or because she could not see Xianxia. The next mock exam would be in 2 months' time. Su Zipei did not notice Mu Qiqi's girlish thoughts at the moment. She thought that Mu Qiqi was just thinking that she was not good enough and so comforted her. Qiqi, you've been out of school for so long. It's good enough that you've achieved such results. I'm fine, Aunt Zipei. Mu Qiqi reassured her. Look, what did I buy for you? Su Zipei took out a box from behind and put it in front of Mu Qiqi. I had to live frugally to make ends meet, but I really wanted to buy you a present you like, so I bought you this cell phone, and it was the newest and most expensive one. Qiqi, Aunt Zipei has saved my number in there. Mu Qiqi looked at Su Zipei, the woman who looked so much like her mother. She suddenly felt emotional because her aunt was closer to her than her own mother. Look, this is my aunt's. Su Zipei said, taking out another cell phone from her pocket. But Mu Qiqi could tell at a glance that the cell phone she used was much older. At that, Mu Qiqi took out the cell phone from the box and handed it to Su Zipei before snatching it away. I'll use this. How can you do that? Su Zipei asked in surprise. I'll contact you every day, Aunt Zipei. I don't need such a good cell phone. It'll affect my studies. Su Zipei nodded, knowing that she was sensible. Then you can exchange it with me whenever you want. Mu Qiqi took out the old cell phone and looked at the contact list. Her eyes lit up when she saw the name Young Master Xing. It was left behind by Xianxia when he went to look for Su Zipei just in case, but Su Zipei never bothered him. Mu Qiqi clenched the cell phone tightly and put it in her pocket as if she had found a treasure. That was why she had to pull herself together. At that thought, Mu Qiqi hugged Su Zipei and worked even harder in her studies. Moreover, Mu Qiqi found out everything about Xianxia online, studying his hobbies, learning his dressing style, and even joining various clubs in school. She did not want to waste her time. At the very least, she had to be worthy of what Xianxia had done for her. Even if it was just an order for Xianxia, Su Zipei could clearly see the change in Mu Qiqi. From that, Su Zipei could clearly see the changes in Mu Qiqi. Apart from studying, Mu Qiqi had expanded her extracurricular activities. She had more contact with her classmates and became more confident. And in that period, Mu Qiqi could only see Xianxia through the small television. That was why Mu Qiqi knew how busy he was as the crown prince of Huangyao. And that small number was in her cell phone and she never called it. Inside Huangyao Hotel, Xianxia had just met the Italian. Papa Xing had just had a minor heart surgery, which was why he was temporarily brought to Huangyao to handle official business. It had been days since he had a proper rest and he happened to have some free time since he had a meeting in an hour. Xianxia seized the time to rest, but just as he closed his eyes, he heard a text notification on his phone. He took it out and saw that it was Su Zipei, but the content made his eyes widen unwittingly. I'm Qiqi. I lost to Mu Tongxue by 2 places, but I'll keep working hard. After reading it, Xianxia thought that it had been a long time since he last saw the little girl. He did not expect her to suddenly send him a message. He had been too busy recently and Jing Yun did not go over, which was why there was no message for him. Coincidentally, the hotel was nearby and he could go over at night. That was why when night fell and Xianxia was about to drive to the little mansion, Jing Yun reminded him to stop him. Young master, have you forgotten about your promise with Mu Qiqi? You will only meet her if she passes Mu Tongshue's test? I just said it casually and you remember it. Xianxia teased. I always keep your words in mind, young master. Then you should know that I've met Mu Qiqi, and that she asked you to tell her that she wants to meet me. Jing Yun, you've already decided everything for me. Why don't you live my life instead? Jing Yun's heart skipped a beat at Xianxiao's dangerous words. I'm sorry, young master. I won't let you off so easily if there's a next time. With those words, Xianxia got into his sports car and went straight to the little mansion. Chapter 9. You're sleeping early, little girl. Xianxia was about to leave when Mu Qiqi seemed to have heard the sound of a car engine downstairs. She quickly turned on the lights, got out of bed and looked out the window. Xianxia quickly extinguished the fire when he saw her like that. In the next second, Mu Qiqi appeared in front of him in her pajamas. You're back? Did you see my message? Little girl, why do you use a phone? Xianxia locked the car as he entered the living room. Mu Qiqi followed behind Xianxia. She looked at his tall figure and suddenly blushed. Her heart raced and she was a little nervous. I can play tennis now. And I'm pretty good at it. Mu Qiqi said to Xianxiao's back. But you should be busy and not interested in listening to me. I just know that you like it a lot. Xianxia turned to look at Mu Qiqi after hearing her words. He was sitting on the armrest of the sofa and beckoning Mu Qiqi with his finger. Mu Qiqi took 2 steps towards him, but he grabbed her by the neck and said, "You don't have to please me. I'm not a member of the Mu family. I won't lose my things." "I'm not a thing," Mu Qiqi replied with a frown. "I'm a human." Xianxia could not help teasing her. "When I'm done with my work, I'll bring you out to play. If you don't do well, there will be a punishment." "What punishment?" "You'll know when the time comes. You still have school tomorrow. Go to sleep." Xianxia let go of Mu Qiqi and urged her upstairs. "Also, you did not do well this time. But your target is not Mu Tongxue. It's yourself." Mu Qiqi took a deep breath when she saw Xianxiao's handsome and charming side profile. She was afraid that she would forget to breathe. "Then I'm going to sleep, okay?" Xianxiao nodded. He still had to go home after seeing the little girl. After that old man recovered, he would return to his carefree life. It had been a long time since he went skiing in New Zealand. He could consider bringing the little girl along when the time came. Xianxiao left the little mansion. He thought that Mu Qiqi had gone to bed. But Mu Qiqi hid at the corner of the stairs. She waited until he disappeared before returning to her room and jumping onto the soft bed. Because she felt that she and Xianxiao had gotten a little closer. This made her almost ecstatic. Mu Qiqi slowly became one with her classmates, becoming lively and cheerful in just 3 months, becoming a top student in the eyes of her classmates. As long as one wanted to learn all kinds of martial arts, one could endure hardships that others could not. But that was not enough. For Xianxiao, the Mu Qiqi he wanted to see was someone who would look up at others, who could say no to anything she didn't like, and who had to walk with her head held high. At the same time, Xianxiao knew very well that Mu Qiqi must be confident enough if she wanted such pride, and he must give her that confidence. The Mu family had hurt her too much, and she was too worried about her gains and losses. It was obvious that she was afraid that Xianxiao would abandon her again. Soon the entire country would welcome another mock exam. This time Mu Qiqi was even more prepared. With a strong foundation, she successfully made it to the top 15 in the country, far surpassing Mu Tongxue. Su Zipei was all smiles for a long time after she saw Mu Qiqi's results. Still, it was a pity for Mu Qiqi that Xianxiao was nowhere to be seen after the day she met him and said that he would take her out to play basketball. Papa Sheng's condition worsened, and he was even given a critical condition notice. Mu Qiqi learned all that from the news, which was why she did her best not to disturb Xianxiao. At night, under the soft light, Mu Qiqi looked at the results of the mock exam. It was not just her results. She could have done better than Mu Tongxue in many other aspects. Still, if she had not deliberately hid herself and performed better than Mu Tongxue in the Mu family, would she still be abandoned? This time Mu Tongxue's results had slipped a little compared to last time. When she saw the ranking and saw that Mu Qiqi had suddenly climbed to 15th place, she felt uncomfortable, even though there was no way that Mu Qiqi was her sister. Even so, Mu Qiqi's name made her very uncomfortable. Later, Mama Mu entered the room and found her spacing out. She quickly asked, "Why aren't you resting, Tongxue?" "Mom, I want to transfer to Eton." "Can I?" "Why would you want to transfer out of the blue? Aren't you happy at Van Gogh?" Mama Mu asked tenderly. "Are you being bullied?" "Mom, just say yes. I want to go to a better school." "You child, Eton isn't a place you can get in just because you want to. You should at least wait for your father and see if it's okay," Mama Mu said helplessly. "Silly child, are you being bullied at school because of what happened to your sister?" Since Mu Tongxue couldn't find an excuse, she went with the flow since Mama Mu said so. "I know, Mom. It's not my sister's fault." "Alright, I'll talk to your father now. You should get some rest." After Mu Qiqi's incident, the Mu family's love for Mu Tongxue had reached its limit. In fact, it was a form of guilt towards Mu Tongxue, although they would not say it out loud. Perhaps they were afraid of retribution, and thought that treating Mu Tongxue better would make up for their sins. Whatever the case may be, Mu Tongxue's goal was achieved. When Papa Mu learned about his daughter's thoughts, he promptly called his secretary and had her make the arrangements at Eton. Meanwhile, Mu Qiqi was now an influential figure in the academy. Even though it had only been a short 4 months since she transferred to this school, Mu Qiqi was now very confident in chatting and laughing with her classmates, unlike before when she had to stand behind Mu Tongxue. Soon there was a reply from Eton. and Mu Tongxue offered to visit Eton with the secretary. Mama Mu wanted to accompany her that day but Mu Tongxue refused. "Mommy, I'm just going for a tour. My secretary is with me so I won't get lost. Don't worry, just do your own things." "Mommy won't care about you?" Mama Mu was certainly going to the gathering of the rich ladies. "Yes, all right." Having planned everything, Mu Tongxue entered Eton's campus with the secretary's arrangements. There was another Mu Qiqi there which was troubling her. Moreover, when she looked at the ranking list she noticed that Mu Qiqi was in class 3. She really wanted to see who this person was. Chapter 10. Mu Qiqi was in her math class at the moment. The teacher was a very capable young foreign teacher, and he was teaching them some difficult math problems today. Of course, his main purpose was to test how difficult the students in the class could solve it. Mu Qiqi was sitting in the middle of the class, twirling a pen in her hand, her expression relaxed and confident. "The next question is calculus. It's seriously beyond the syllabus and no one could solve it, right?" the teacher said exaggeratedly as he wrote. "If any of you have seen it before, it would be incredible." The students in the class began to look at each other. Still, it was not a big deal that they had seen it before. After all, many of them were taking university courses ahead of time. "Is no one going to raise their hand?" the teacher asked. "This is the time to show off your ability. Can you? I've seen it before but I can't." "So difficult. No one could do it, right?" None of them noticed a figure standing outside the small window. Her gaze was burning but it was always locked on one person. It was her own sister, Mu Qiqi. How was that possible? What was going on? Didn't that beast of a uncle sell her off? Why was she sitting in this classroom receiving a higher level of education than her own? That was when Mu Qiqi suddenly raised her hand and asked the teacher, "Can I try?" Everyone looked at Mu Qiqi in surprise. Could she even solve such a question? Come to the front," the teacher told her. Mu Qiqi rose from her seat confidently and walked to the blackboard, taking the chalk the teacher handed her. Then she wrote down a series of equations on the blackboard. "You're too good at bluffing, teacher. The core of calculus is also a function, so pay attention to this question. We can solve it. Where's your applause?" "As expected of the first in class. I've finally fallen in love with your class," the teacher said humorously. "That's a sense of achievement." Mu Tongxue looked at the question on the blackboard. Mu Qiqi could solve it but she could not. Moreover, Mu Qiqi had changed too much. Where was the Mu Qiqi who was always scolded in math class? Her sister probably didn't know anything. Her studies were at the bottom of Van Gogh. And not the Mu Qiqi who could solve calculus. No, she could not believe it. This must all be an illusion. Perhaps Mu Qiqi sensed someone outside the window. When she got off the podium she turned around and saw a figure outside the window. Their gazes met and in that instant sparks flew. Mu Qiqi saw Mu Tongxue too. There was surprise in her eyes, but she quickly calmed down and returned to her seat with a confident smile. Mu Tongxue was deeply shocked. Was that still Mu Qiqi with that confident and slightly boastful expression? Wasn't Mu Qiqi her shadow? She was the center of attention wherever he went. But now obviously that was not the case. No, Mu Tongxue couldn't believe it. She wouldn't believe it. "Qiqi, you're good. You can even answer such a difficult question." Mu Qiqi's heart was pounding when she heard her classmates' envious voices. She never thought that Mu Tongxue would learn that she was at Eton under such circumstances. Still, the scene just now must have left Mu Tongxue in shock. It was not hard to feel it from her stunned expression. Despite her delight, Mu Qiqi was also a little worried. There was no telling what they would do to her if Mu Tongxue told the Mu family that she was at Eton. But one day this moment will come. When she turned to look out the window again, she was gone. Mu Qiqi called Su Zipei right after class. "Aunt Zipei, I saw Mu Tongxue today." "What? She went to Eton? She didn't talk to you? Why would she go there?" "I don't know. I'm just telling you." In that very moment she only had to prepare herself mentally. No matter what the Mu family would do, she would fight them to the bitter end. If push comes to shove, it would be a life and death struggle. Either way, her ultimate goal was definitely not to return to the Mu family. After some thought, Mu Qiqi sent Xianxia the news that she saw Mu Tongxue at school. "I don't want to trouble you, but I saw Mu Tongxue at Eton. I don't know what the Mu family would do next." Meanwhile, Xianxia had just finished a private meeting. When he saw the message he only replied, Study hard. Then he called out to Jingyun. Go to Eton. What is it, young master? Jingyun was tidying up his documents. Mu Tongxue is at Eton. Go and find out what's going on. Young master, business is more important. Xianxia glared at Jingyun coldly at that. I think I should get a new assistant. I'll go at once. Jingyun quickly said. Even so, Jingyun had never wanted Xianxia and Mu Qiqi to have too much contact. In fact, he believed that Mu Qiqi's arrival would have a great impact on Xianxia. For example, a single text from Mu Qiqi would have Xianxia put down whatever he was doing and solve her problem first. Be that as it may, Jingyun went to Eton as Xianxia told him, and learned that the Mu family was there because Mu Tongxue wanted to transfer schools. Mu Tongxue had just left with Papa Mu's secretary when Jingyun arrived. Jingyun then called Xianxia to report the situation. Xianxia laughed devilishly at his words. It won't be easy for her to get into Eton. Contact the principal and tell him my stance. She had oppressed Mu Qiqi before, and now she knows that her sister is in Eton and she can't get in. How sad would she be when her sister, whom she had always trampled beneath her feet, suddenly flipped over. I'm the happiest to see others suffer. Understood. Jingyun replied and did as Xianxia told him. Why would the principal of Eton accept Xianxiao's stance? That was because the two families had a cooperative relationship in other industries. Although the Mu family was also a prominent family, there were many prominent families in Jianchuan, weren't there? It was true that Mu Tongxue's soul had left her body when she left Eton, and she had suffered a huge blow. Her sister, who should have been sold off, had suddenly appeared in a higher academy, with better results and more attention than her. The very thought of it left her heartbroken. She really wanted to know what was going on. Even so, he could not just tell his parents about it. Otherwise, wouldn't everything have been for naught if they brought Mu Qiqi back? Chapter 11. What's wrong, miss? Papa Mu's secretary asked. I'm fine, uncle. Is the paperwork done? Almost done. The secretary replied. Mu Tongxue had thought that she could enter Eton and slowly get to the bottom of the matter. But she didn't know that Eton had suddenly hung up on her and called Papa Mu's office directly. What? My daughter can't transfer? But that's not what you said before. Papa Mu was furious. I don't care. Don't you want money? I have plenty of it. It's not about money, Mr. Mu. It's just that the slots are full. We're really sorry that the registrar's office made a mistake. I'm doubting the reputation of Eton Academy. I'm really sorry for disturbing you. Eton Academy did not care at all. Papa Mu felt humiliated, but what could he do if they did not let him in? Moreover, Van Gogh was not bad. Hence he called his wife and told her that Mu Tongxue had failed to transfer. Mama Mu was surprised, but accepted the truth and returned home from the gathering. When Mu Tongxue reached home, she told her, Shue, I got a call from your father. He told me that Eton is full, so there's no way to transfer. Mu Tongshue's face fell at the news. No, the secretary had just told her that the paperwork went smoothly. Why did things change in such a short time? It must be Mu Qiqi. Mu Qiqi must be stopping her from going to Eton. Mommy, but I really want to go. Come on, your father has tried his best. Van Gogh is fine too, and you're about to take your exams. You still need time to adjust to the transfer. Mu Tongxue could not tell her family about it and could only pout and cry as she returned to her room. She wasn't upset because she couldn't transfer to another school. Instead, she was upset because Mu Qiqi could attend a better academy than her. But she did not want this. She did not want her sister, who was chased out of the house, to have a better life than her. At that thought, Mu Tongxue wanted to meet Mu Qiqi in person, but she could not let her family find out. That was why she slipped out of the house when Mama Mu wasn't looking, and sat down at a cafe outside Eton's gates. She wanted to ask Mu Qiqi herself. Naturally, Mu Tongshue's appearance was very sudden for Mu Qiqi as well. She was forcing herself to stay calm, and in fact she was very nervous inside. Because she did not want to return to the Mu family and be bullied by Mu Tongxue again. Most importantly, she didn't want to have nothing to do with him. She really wanted to tell him how she felt, but she knew that he was the crown prince of Huangyao and had no time to care about such trivial matters. But she really wanted to. As such, Mu Qiqi wrote down her worries in her diary. At the very least, it would give her some peace of mind, and she would pretend that she had told Xianxia those words. she would never know that her dear little sister was waiting at Eaton's gates. After handling the day's work, Xianxia looked up at his expensive watch. "Young master, the guests from Italy have returned today, and the Earl of England has also decided on a date to meet you. He has confirmed that he wants the love of Hera as a gift for his first wedding anniversary with his wife." Jing Yun was even telling him about his upcoming schedule in his ear. However, Xianxia simply closed his calendar. "I'm leaving now." "But," Xianxia rose to his feet and promptly untied his blue striped tie. "I won't show up at Huangyao tomorrow if you stop me." Jing Yun promptly shut his mouth. He knew his young master's temper very well. When a demon rose, he would not give face to anyone. "Where are you going then?" "Don't follow me. Let me catch my breath." Xianxia went to the small mansion. He had eaten Susie Pei's cooking once, and there was a simple and comforting taste to it. Muqiqi was in school at the time, which was why he did not let her know. Today he wanted to experience it again. Just as the chauffeur was about to pick up the girl, Xianxia opened the door and got into the car. "Young master, don't mind me." "Sco." Xianxia unbuttoned his shirt and sat in the back seat. Old Lin was taken aback but kept his focus on driving. Soon the car stopped in front of Eaton's gates and Muqiqi and her classmates stepped out of the school gates. However, just as Old Lin was about to get out of the car to welcome them, another girl wearing a hat stood in her way. Xianxia saw it too and stopped Old Lin. "Don't move." Muqiqi saw Old Lin's car from afar, and naturally saw Mu Tongxue appearing in front of her. To avoid drawing attention, Mu Tongxue deliberately lowered her hat. "Sis, let's talk. I've been waiting for you for a long time." Muqiqi's heart was pounding. In the past she would have followed Mu Tongxue because if she didn't, Mu Tongxue would put on an act at home and accuse her of bullying her. Then she would be scolded by her parents. Perhaps Mu Tongxue believed that Muqiqi should obediently follow her. That was why she promptly turned to lead Muqiqi back to the cafe. It was only natural for her to do so. Muqiqi was indeed behind her, but when she entered the cafe and turned, she found that Muqiqi had gotten into the black Mercedes, completely ignoring her. "Who cares about you?" Mu Tongxue froze where she was. She was actually ignored by Muqiqi? Moreover, it was completely naked. Mu Tongxue clenched her fists. It shouldn't be like this. What went wrong? Meanwhile, Muqiqi was shocked to see Xianxia when she got into the car, before her eyes filled with delight. "Why are you here? How could I see your cool side if I didn't come?" Xianxia praised. "Your reaction just now deserves a reward. I'm not a member of the Mu family now, so it depends on my mood whether I go with her." After 4 months of tempering, Muqiqi's state of mind had changed dramatically. She was no longer someone else's shadow. She was herself. "You're finally showing some of the Xing family. But you're not going to make me public, are you?" Muqiqi asked. "And, even now, I don't know what identity I'm using to receive your protection and favor. Come to think of it, I'm the daughter of my enemy." "And what?" Xianxia looked at Muqiqi playfully as if he knew everything she was thinking. "You don't know who you are." Chapter 12. There was light and hope in Xingzhao's eyes as he looked into Muqiqi's, but he smiled devilishly in return. "Then how do you want me to treat you?" Muqiqi froze, because Xingzhao threw the question right back at her. "I asked first. What else? Of course I would treat you like a sister." Old Lin suddenly interjected cheerfully from the front seat. That was because he was driving and could not see the feelings in Muqiqi's eyes for Xingzhao. It was not the feelings of family or friends. Xingzhao seemed to understand, but he did not express his feelings, showing neither disgust nor fondness. Hence, the topic ended with Old Lin's interjection. Muqiqi was actually afraid that Xingzhao would notice something, but she was also afraid that he would not notice it. How could Xingzhao not see through her girlish thoughts that were written all over her face? Even so, Xingzhao was not a man of morals. He would always act according to his mood. That was why if he really cared about the little one, he would not care about any conditions or obstacles from the outside world, and everything would go according to his heart. At least for now, he enjoyed Muqiqi's reliance on him. What had he not seen in a world of flowers? Still, he would rather stay close to the whiteness. Of course, it was easy for him to directly read Muqiqi's reactions and feelings. Still, it was very unfair for Muqiqi. She was afraid, worried, and could only hide her thoughts. She was even testing Xing Zhao's bottom line bit by bit. That was why she was upset, but Xing Zhao was very pleased. It's been so long, but I still don't know what to call you. Mu Qiqi thought for a long time before saying quietly, I don't want to call you brother. What else can I call you if not big brother? Old Lin interrupted again. Mu Qiqi was almost in tears. Can't you drive properly, Old Lin? Xing Zhao smiled discreetly after enjoying the little girl's expression. What do you want to call me? Tell me. Do I get to call you whatever I want? I want to call you Xiao Xiao. Would you? Mu Qiqi thought to herself. Just call me Brother Xiao in front of others. Xing Zhao said on his own, meaning that she could do whatever she wanted behind their backs. However, Mu Qiqi couldn't tell what he was trying to say at the moment. For now, Xing Zhao's suggestion was the most reasonable. And Mu Tongxue came to me just now. Mu Qiqi, do you need me to repeat myself? I've said it before, I won't throw away my things. Xing Zhao's side profile looked even more handsome under the setting sun. He was confident, flamboyant, and devilish, but it was this side of him that captivated Mu Qiqi. As a result, it was deeply rooted in the heart of a girl who hadn't even reached the age of 18. She wasn't sure that she liked him 100%. At the same time, she knew that this feeling was unusually dangerous, but she just couldn't control herself. And Xing Zhao's reaction showed that he did not intend to let her control him. No, I'm just worried that Mu Tongxue will play tricks. So, do you think her tricks will work on me or you? At the moment, Mu Tongshue's tricks were ineffective against everyone. Only those idiots in the Mu family would believe it. After returning to the little mansion, Xing Zhao stayed for dinner before driving away. Mu Qiqi's heart raced and she couldn't rest for the entire night. Therefore, she recorded all of this in her diary. It filled her with courage and gave her a goal to move forward. On the other hand, Mu Tongxue was flustered and exasperated after being rejected by Mu Qiqi. However, she would hide in her room and always put on a gentle and considerate front in front of others, never wanting to cause trouble for anyone. She really didn't expect that Mu Qiqi had become so arrogant. Mu Tongxue couldn't imagine the past, because the gap between them would only be greater. No, she had to find a way to find out what happened to Mu Qiqi. But now she had a choice, she had to tell her parents. If she let Mu Qiqi keep being so smug, her parents would learn of her existence sooner or later, and be surprised by her change. Now it was better to strike first. At that thought, Mu Tongxue forced out a few tears and knocked on Mama Mu's door. Mommy, are you there? What's wrong, dear? Mama Mu quickly opened the door. Mu Tongshue's eyes were red and she threw herself into Mama Mu's arms. I saw my sister and eaten today, Mommy. How? Mama Mu's eyes widened and she pushed Mu Tongxue away. Did you see wrong? Wasn't your sister. How could I see wrong? It was like we were looking in a mirror, Mu Tongxue cried. Mu Tongxue cried. But she completely ignored me when I talked to her and what? Mama Mu pressed. She said that I'm the one who hurt her so badly and that she wants to kill me. Mommy. Mu Tongxue was crying her heart out and no one could help but feel sorry for her. Did your sister really say that? Mama Mu's heart was clenched. My sister has become so terrifying. Is she coming back for revenge? No, Mom and Dad wouldn't let that happen. But you have to let us know what's going on, Tongxue. Well, should we tell Daddy? Mu Tongxue asked, tilting her head up. We'll investigate in secret. Your aunt changed her number for some reason and vanished from the face of the earth. Mama Mu had been hoping to get some information from Suzy Pei, but both her daughter and her husband were nowhere to be found. She had no way of knowing whether Mu Qiqi had been sold or what had happened to her. Mu Tongxue knew that she had achieved her goal when her mother wanted to investigate Mu Qiqi. After all, she knew very well how weak her mother was. As long as she put on a good show, it would be impossible for Mu Qiqi to return to the Mu family. Perhaps Mu Qiqi had become like that because she wanted to return to the Mu family? In fact, Mu Qiqi no longer wanted to stay at the Mu family. She wouldn't move her noble legs even if everyone in the Mu family knelt before her. As expected, Mama Mu did not dare to tell her husband, and could only privately hire a private detective to investigate why Mu Qiqi was in Eton. The private detective spent a few days and took many photos of Mu Qiqi. Finally, he gave Mama Mu a set of information. Chapter 13. Mama Mu unraveled some of her doubts after reading through the information, only to have a new one emerge. No wonder Susie Pei could not be contacted. She was sponsored by a rich man. But how did a poor person like her and an abandoned child get to know such a rich man? To know the whole truth, Mama Mu decided to visit her sister at the little mansion. Soon Mu Tongxue learned why Mu Qiqi was in Eton. It turned out that she was sponsored by a rich man. But her aunt's neighbor had said that he saw Mu Qiqi being sold with his own eyes. In other words, Mu Qiqi might have been sponsored by the French through improper means. Mu Tongxue smiled again at that thought. She had thought that Mu Qiqi would use some method to rise to the top, but she did not expect it to be so filthy. Still, how could she let Papa know that Mu Qiqi had sold herself for riches? In the afternoon, Mama Mu drove to the suburbs with the address of the little mansion. The security guards would not let her in, but they could help her inform them. Susie Pei did not expect that Mama Mu would come to her so soon. Still, there was nothing to be afraid of because she was firm in her stance. All she wanted was for Mu Qiqi to live a good life, and she could clearly feel Mu Qiqi's happiness while she was with the Xing family. What if she returned to the Mu family? Susie Pei smiled coldly. Would she let you torture her again? After tidying up a little, Susie Pei arrived at the entrance of the mansion. She did not greet her sister as enthusiastically as before. Sipe, let's go to a cafe nearby. Forget about the cafe. Let's talk here. I still have to make dinner for Mu Qiqi. Susie Pei opened the door of Mama Mu's car and got in. What is it? Mama Mu smiled bitterly. She did not expect Zipei to be so cold towards her and smiled bitterly. You're blaming me for not helping Mu Qiqi. Susie Pei said nothing and looked straight ahead. You know your brother-in-law's temper. You don't have to explain that to me. If you weren't so afraid of turning back into a sparrow, you wouldn't have kept quiet when your own daughter was chased out of the house. Susie Pei said coldly. They're twins, but Mu Qiqi was chased out by her own parents. Zipei, you don't have to call me or look for us. Mu Qiqi is doing quite well now. From now on she won't eat from the Mu family's food or use your money. You should be satisfied. What more do you want from someone else? Susie Pei's words were a little overboard. Mu Qiqi was a little angry. I don't know how it happened. Mama Mu covered her face and leaned on the steering wheel. I didn't want it to happen, but Qiqi killed her grandmother. Do any of you have any evidence to prove that old Madame Mu was killed by Qiqi? Just because Tongxue said so. Speaking of this, Susie Pei sneered even more coldly. Tongxue wouldn't lie. Then Qiqi knows how to lie? Forget it, this difference in treatment isn't just a matter of a day or two. Since Mu Qiqi isn't in the Mu family now, if you still have a conscience, don't disturb Mu Qiqi's life. She has nothing to do with the Mu family anymore. With that, she was about to get out of the car when Mama Mu stopped her. Fei, don't go. Have you ever thought about what your brother-in-law would think if he knew about this? What? Are you saying that Mu Qiqi can't be subsidized to appease the Mu family? Don't tell me that Qiqi deserves to be poor and sold? Is that what you want? Seeing that Mama Mu was speechless, Susie Pei smiled and opened the door. There's a saying that the weak do the worst. From now on I don't have you as my sister anymore. Please don't come here again and I won't see you again even if you do. With those words, Susie Pei got out of Mama Mu's car. She had become a little stronger under Xianxia and Mu Qiqi's influence. She had been so patient before, but what she got in return was endless harm and deception. So why should she endure? That was why Xianxiao's taking Mu Qiqi in had not only changed Mu Qiqi's fate, but Susie Pei's as well. Mama Mu felt aggrieved at Susie Pei's words. Her husband didn't understand her difficulties at home, and her sister didn't understand her hardships when they were outside. After all, in her heart Mu Qiqi was a child of the Mu family. She would always obey the Mu family no matter who helped her. Whether it was killing her grandmother or being chased out by the Mu family, it was a family scandal that could affect the Mu family's stocks. If she didn't handle it well, her husband would definitely come after her. But now Susie Pei wouldn't listen to her at all. That was why she broke down and cried in the car. But would Susie Pei even care? Susie Pei would only find it ridiculous. Who did the Mu family think they were? Emperors? And everyone would obey them? Mu Qiqi's life was so bitter and miserable. It wasn't easy for her to have someone to take care of her, and yet the Mu family was afraid that Mu Qiqi's matter would affect them if it got out. Were they hoping that Mu Qiqi would live and die as the Mu family dictated? Although Su Zipei felt that her thoughts were vicious in that very instant, she really did think that way. She wanted every member of the Mu family to die. Mu Qiqi knew nothing about all that. All she knew was that her aunt gave her a big hug when she got home. What is it, Zipei? From now on, no matter how the Mu family comes to you, begs you, or interferes with you, don't lower your head to them. Stick close to young Master Xing regardless of their feud or grudges. I only hope that you can live a happy life. Mu Qiqi was very sensitive despite her young age, and could guess why her aunt would say such things to her. Also, why did she hate the Mu Jia so much? Don't worry, Aunt Zipei. I won't leave even if Brother Xiao chases me away. I'll make a name for myself and make the Mu family see me in a different light. I didn't know you two had such hobbies. Xing Zhao's demonic voice suddenly spoke from beside them. The great crown prince of Huangyao was actually always freeloading off an orphan and a widow's house. Young Master Xing. Su Zipei let go of Mu Qiqi and quickly greeted him respectfully. Mu Qiqi, go do your homework. Xing Xiao told her directly. Mu Qiqi nodded obediently, since Xing Xiao wasn't going to leave now anyway. Then I'll cook. Su Zipei promptly headed to the kitchen and Xing Xiao followed her, leaning against the door frame to confirm with her. The Mu family came in the afternoon? He knew. Su Zipei asked in surprise. I've had Jing Yun inform the security guards. Xing Xiao said directly. Chapter 14. After dinner, Xing Xiao left the little mansion and Mu Qiqi walked him to the door with her papers. Be careful on your way home. You've come today, but there's no telling when you'll come again. Xing Xiao did things as he pleased and never prepared for others. Mu Qiqi hoped that she could see him often, but she knew that it was just wishful thinking. Go back to your room. Don't read all the time or you'll become a bookworm. With that, Xing Xiao got into his car and drove away. Mu Qiqi pursed her lips and sighed. Turning around, she returned to her room and continued studying under the night light. In fact, Xing Xiao did not leave. He was sitting in his car, watching as Mu Qiqi's room was lit with a yellow night light. When Jing Yun told him that he did not bring home a cat or a dog, Xing Xiao thought that he, the crown prince of Huangyao, would not be unable to take care of a girl. But after what Su Zipei said to him today, he realized that he would slowly become the center of Mu Qiqi's life. And would he really be able to endure such restraint after being used to freedom? After watching for half an hour, Xing Xiao finally drove away. After all, he felt that he needed a clearer definition of himself. Mama Mu was distracted when she returned home. She did not know how to tell her husband about Mu Qiqi's sponsorship. Papa Mu could not help scolding her when he saw her return dejectedly. Where did you go? Why aren't you preparing dinner? I'll go now. Mama Mu took off her coat and quickly went to the kitchen. That was when Mu Tongxue saw her mother's face. She knew that she must have suffered quite a blow, and so quietly entered the kitchen to ask Mama Mu, Mommy, what did Aunt Zipei say? Don't mention it. Your aunt gave me a scolding. So, it was not just Mu Qiqi who thought that she had ascended to the top. Did Su Zipei think that she had become a phoenix too? Mommy, why don't you tell Daddy about this? Otherwise, he'll blame you again when things get out of hand. Mu Tongxue suggested very considerately. Mama Mu never had a mind of her own and was afraid of taking responsibility. Still, she decided to listen to her daughter's suggestion and tell her husband about Mu Qiqi. Hence, after dinner, Mama Mu brought the documents to Papa Mu's study. Didn't I tell you that you can't enter the study? Papa Mu raised his head and scolded. Just want to discuss something with you. With that, Mama Mu handed the documents to Papa Mu. I had asked Zipei to look after Qiqi after she was chased out of the house. But I don't know what happened. Qiqi was sponsored by a rich Frenchman and she's studying at Eton. Papa Mu did a double take after listening to Mama Mu's description. He took a look at the documents and flew into a rage. Ridiculous. Do you think there's no one in the Mu family? I'm educating my daughter who dares to interfere. Hubby, are you saying that you want Mu Qiqi back? But have you ever considered that your brothers are eyeing your position covetously? Papa Mu could only suppress his anger after being reminded. He paced back and forth in his study. Have you looked for Mu Qiqi? Do you think she's enjoying someone else's food? She's a traitor and she's studying at Eton in such a high-profile manner. People would think that the Mu family can't even afford to raise a daughter if they find out. What do we do now? Mama Moo asked. Papa Moo thought for a moment and told Mama Moo, bring her back and let your sister take care of her. That was probably the biggest concession Papa Moo could give Moo Chi-Chi. But Zipei might not listen to me now and Chi-Chi might not come back either. It's not up to her. I'm her father legally and her guardian. Papa Moo snorted. I'm so angry. That rebellious girl has never done anything good since she was born. Contact them tomorrow and bring her back. Papa Moo had given a strict order, and the whole family certainly did not dare to disobey. Moo Tongxue never thought that things would end up like that, which was why she was very sad when Mama Moo returned to her room. Mommy, would my sister really take revenge if she comes back? I'm scared. Don't be scared, dear. Your father told me to let your aunt take care of your sister, so don't be scared. Moo Tongshue's lips curled at Mama Moo's words. It was best if that was the case. She would like to see how Moo Chi-Chi would flaunt her grades in front of her now. Meanwhile, Moo Chi-Chi was still buried in her studies under the night lamp. Not long after, Su Zipei entered her room and sat by her bed. Chi-Chi. Moo Chi-Chi turned to look at Su Zipei. What is it? Zipei. Your mother came to me today. Su Zipei decided to tell Moo Chi-Chi the truth. But we didn't get anything out of it, and from what I know of your mother, she would definitely tell your father about you. I see, you know your father's temper. It's very likely that he will take you back just like that. How could he tolerate his weakness being exposed to the public? He would love to have you right under his nose. Su Zipei said quietly. I know. Moo Chi-Chi's mood suddenly hit rock bottom. I just want you to be mentally prepared. With those words, Su Zipei stroked Moo Chi-Chi's head. Don't stay up too late. Sleep early. Moo Chi-Chi was panicking as she watched Su Zipei leave. She did not want to be taken back to the Moo family just like that, but Papa Moo was her guardian. He had a duty to watch over her and she could not resist. If returning to her former life was not the worst, what was the worst? He would never meet Xianxia again. Moo Chi-Chi felt terrible at the thought. She took out her old phone from her pocket and opened the message interface. Xianxia had just left. Was she going to trouble him again? But if she didn't bother Xianxia, who else could she bother? With that in mind, Moo Chi-Chi sent him a message. I heard from my aunt that my father might take me back. I'm scared. Can you guarantee that I won't be taken back? Xianxia had just returned to the Xing family's home. He was lying in the bathtub, spacing out as he stared at the scar on his leg. His phone rang and he got up and got out of the bathtub when he saw that it was a message from Moo Chi-Chi. But he did not reply at once. Instead, he poured himself a glass of red wine and sat on the sofa, phone in hand. Chapter 15. Then Xianxia dialed Jing Yun's number. The Moo family is asking for her. Isn't that how it should be, young master? After all, Moo Chi-Chi is related to the Moo family by blood. Does that mean I'm related to them by blood as well? Xianxiao's tone was sinister and dangerous. What would you like to do, young master? Jing Yun quickly changed the topic. Should I give her to them just because they ask for her? Xianxia took a sip of the fragrant red wine and told Jing Yun, do those two things tomorrow. With that, Xianxia told Jing Yun the specifics of what to do. He did not promise or guarantee Moo Chi-Chi, because he had said that he would not repeat himself a third time. Regardless of what he thought inside, he had brought Moo Chi-Chi home and kept her in the little mansion. He believed that she was his. Giving her to someone else just because he said so? He never knew what it meant to let her go. Even so, Moo Chi-Chi did not get a definite answer from him. She was left feeling restless for the whole night, and it was so uncomfortable to have someone else control her fate. Moo Chi-Chi's face was pale when she woke up the next day, and Su Zipei's heart ached when she saw it. Silly child, I would never let you go back to the Moo family even if I have to die. What are you thinking about? And young Master Xing wouldn't. But he didn't answer me when I asked him last night. Moo Chi-Chi said dejectedly. I don't want breakfast, Aunt Zipei. I'm going to school. All right, take the milk with you. Su Zipei stuffed the milk into Moo Chi-Chi's bag. However, the Moo family did not manage to contact the French tycoon who sponsored Moo Chi-Chi. After all, he was not in the country. The Moo family could not go to the little mansion either. It was private property and no one could just barge in. That was why Papa Moo set his sights on Eton, intending to forcibly take Moo Chi-Chi away after school. Having made up his mind, Papa Mu left the matter to his secretary with Mama Mu accompanying him. Both of them sat in a car and waited by the gates of Eton, watching nervously as students left the school. Soon Muchichi walked out of the school. Mama Mu saw her at once and gestured for her secretary to get out of the car and walked up to her. That was when old Lin saw Muchichi as well. Xianxia had instructed them to take action as soon as someone from the Mu family appeared around Muchichi. That was why he gestured to the two bodyguards behind him. Although she was prepared, Muchichi froze where she was when her mother suddenly appeared in front of her. Chichi. Mommy wants to talk to you. Mama Mu gestured for Mu to get into the Mu family's car. Muchichi panicked for she knew that her mother was trying to take her away by force. So she cautiously moved past Mama Mu, but was caught by the secretary behind Mama Mu. Xiao Mu, old Mu said. Mu, Xiao, Mu and Mu Xiao. Soon, the bodyguards in black rushed forward and forcefully dragged Muchichi away from the secretary's hands. Mu Chi. Mu said Mu, Mu I, Mu I. Muchichi was shaking in fear. She couldn't hold back her fear even as her mother's shadow became smaller and smaller. Don't worry, Mu Xiao. We're safe now. Old Lin quickly comforted Muchichi. Even so, Muchichi was furious and hateful and tears kept falling out of her eyes. Old Lin was forced to call Xianxia when he saw that and Xianxia simply replied, "Stop at the corner. I'm right there." Naturally, Xianxia couldn't show himself in such a situation, or the Mu family's desire for Muchichi would only intensify and keep pestering them. He could handle it, but could Muchichi endure that much pain? That was why he simply drove in the dark, and would have made a move if Old Lin hadn't arrived in time. Soon, Old Lin stopped his car in the woods behind Eton, because he saw Xingxiao's yellow sports car. Then Xingxiao got out of the car and opened the door to find Muchichi in tears. Heart-clenching, Xingxiao promptly left the sports car by the roadside and sat beside Muchichi. "Drive, Old Lin." Then Xingxiao looked at Muchichi and told her calmly, "I promise." Muchichi understood those 3 words. She had asked him that question last night, but she didn't expect that Xingxiao would tell her himself. Young Master Xing had always believed that mobile phones were cold machines that could only transmit messages, but not read people's expressions. That was why he would tell her everything that was important. Only then would the people who mattered believe him. Muchichi promptly threw herself into Xingxiao's arms, just as Xingxiao unbuttoned his suit and wrapped her around his muscular chest. "No one could take you away. Even if they did, I could bring you back." And so Muchichi cried even harder. Even so, she felt a great sense of security, because Xingxiao's actions made her understand that he would always be nearby no matter what happened to her. Her heart that was hanging in the air was suddenly relieved. Miss must be scared. It's the first time in my life that I've seen parents who don't deserve to be human. Old Lin couldn't help remembering the scene just now. Just like a human trafficker selling a child. "Are you done crying?" Xingxiao pushed Muchichi away even after a long time when she was still twitching. "Keep a pepper spray with you from now on. Do it directly if it happens again." "What if I damage their eyes?" Muchichi was still sobbing. "I'll do it," Xingxiao said, reaching out to tidy Muchichi's messy hair. "You're ugly in the first place. You'll go blind if you keep crying." Muchichi couldn't help laughing again. "But the Mu family would come back. You don't have to worry about that. Jing Yun will send a lawyer to handle it." Xingxiao's expression was rather mysterious. Of course, he had to prevent any future trouble. After all, the little girl was scared to death just once. Going back to the Mu family? Even if the Mu family didn't love her, someone else would. Soon they reached home. Su Zipei quickly came out to welcome them, and Muchichi promptly threw herself into her arms. "Aunt Zipei, it's good that you're fine." Su Zipei quickly comforted her. "Thank you, young Master Sheng." Xingxiao looked at Muchichi but said nothing. "But why are you so hot, Chichi?" Su Zipei quickly reached out to touch Muchichi's forehead. "Do you have a fever?" She didn't sleep last night and didn't eat for the whole day. Moreover, she was exhausted. It would be strange if she wasn't sick. Chapter 16. Meanwhile, Mama Mu and her secretary were scolded by Papa Mu when they returned to the Mu family. What use do you have if you can't even handle such a small matter? Mr. Mu, they were prepared and had men with them. Mama Mu could only accept it. But the secretary knew how to explain herself. I don't believe that I need anyone's permission to take back my own daughter. You might want your daughter back if it was someone else. But that person is Xianxia. As long as he doesn't agree to it, you won't take away a single strand of Mu Qiqi's hair even if you have to fight to the death. Papa Mu was infuriated, and ordered his secretary to contact the French magnate. But he did not expect that Jing Yun's lawyer would contact Papa Mu on his own soon. A team of lawyers came straight to the Mu family. Greetings, Mr. Mu, Mrs. Mu. We have been asked by Mr. Henri to deal with Miss Mu's matter. Papa Mu slammed the table and stood up at the lawyer's words. I don't need an outsider to take care of my own daughter. Is that so? The lawyer retorted. Are you sure you've fulfilled your duty as a guardian if Miss Mu was sold when we found her before she reached adulthood, Mr. Mu? Moreover, we've investigated Miss Mu's situation in detail. She was chased out by the Mu family. Do you still remember that? So what? I'm educating my daughter. That's right, the daughter is yours. But Mr. Mu, you abandoned your daughter and ignored her for 3 months. In the eyes of the law, this is a crime of abandonment. Don't you know that? Moreover, according to Miss Mu's words, she was abused by you for a long time when she was still with the Mu family. Even if it's not within the law's jurisdiction, who's going to suffer if it's made public? Papa Mu was speechless at the lawyer's words. That was when Mama Mu interrupted. We didn't turn a blind eye to her. We let her aunt take care of her. I'm sorry, Mrs. Mu. That's just what you said. The law wouldn't believe it without evidence. So, you're not going to return my daughter to the Mu family? Papa Mu pressed furiously. Strictly speaking, it's the Mu family who abandoned her. Our client is helping her out of goodwill. The lawyer reiterated. We've already explained the severity of the matter to you and Mrs. Mu. Now let's talk about the solution. First, you want Miss Mu back. But our client doesn't want to see Miss Mu suffer anymore. So we can only make things worse. The famous CEO of Mu Group has abandoned his own daughter. How much do you think the shares of Mu Group will drop if this news gets out? Moreover, we can apply to the court to take away the parent's guardianship. Do you understand? Wu Miss Mu. Mu. If you sign this agreement, my client will become Miss Mu's new guardian. As long as Miss Mu's rights and interests are protected, we are willing to keep the peace and not make a big deal out of it. That is to say, this matter will not be made public. But at the same time, Miss Mu, you can forget about going back. Our client will be her guardian until she turns 18. If she wants to return to the Mu family, we won't stop her. In fact, both suggestions have the same outcome. But the way to achieve it is different. If you choose the first option, our lawyers won't be afraid of trouble. What do you think? In other words, Papa Mu was being threatened. Moreover, he did not retaliate verbally. He had been caught red-handed. Asking for Mu Qiqi back was equivalent to giving up the management rights of Mu Group. His brothers were not to be trifled with. Still, it was impossible for him to accept it so easily. It's not hard for me to agree to the second condition. I've raised Mu Qiqi until she's 17. Shouldn't you at least give me room to ask for something if you want her back? Papa Mu began to negotiate with the lawyer from a businessman's point of view. What are your conditions, Mr. Mu? Let my youngest daughter enter Eton. Isn't that too much? Otherwise, my legal team is not to be trifled with. Papa Mu's intention was to have Mu Tongxue keep an eye on Mu Qiqi so that she would not cross the line. But the lawyer laughed in return. Mr. Mu, isn't it a hot topic in school for twins to be raised separately? Aren't you afraid of getting yourself into trouble? Since you could come up with a guardianship letter, this little trouble shouldn't be a problem, right? I have to get the client's agreement. Give me a time to make a call. Go ahead. Papa Mu gestured for him to leave. The lawyer conveyed Papa Mu's words to Jing Yun, who promptly contacted Xianxia, who was still in the small mansion. Xianxia was in Mu Qiqi's room. Young master, the Mu family has agreed to let Miss Mu Qiqi go, but you must force Mu Tongxue into Eton. Otherwise the lawyers will see you. Xianxia stared at Mu Qiqi, who was lying on the bed. Her little face was pale and unremarkable. He had wanted Jing Yun to forcefully reply to her, but Mu Qiqi propped herself up and told him, I can accept it. Xianxia looked at Mu Qiqi with interest. Aren't you afraid of being bullied? As long as I don't return to the Mu family, I would never be afraid of Mu Tongxue. Then agree to the Mu family's terms. Xianxia replied. As a demon who bullied others since he was a child, no one knew better than Xianxia that to completely build Mu Qiqi's confidence, she would have to turn the tables and trample on those who bullied her. That was why whether Mu Tongxue's trick was ineffective against Mu Qiqi was still a question in itself. You said it yourself. I won't care if you come crying to me. Mu Qiqi nodded. Eden. That's your territory. Make her act useless from then on, huh? Mu Qiqi looked at Xianxia determinedly. She was no longer a member of the Mu family from now on, and she would never be bullied or cold-blooded. Moreover, she now had a strong reason and role model. She would certainly pull herself together. Even so, she did not want to lose Xianxiao's protection. That was why Mu Qiqi asked tentatively, "You wouldn't let me be bullied either, right?" Xianxia gave Mu Qiqi a long look but did not answer. Instead he said angrily, "Start training after your fever goes down. Run 3,000 meters every morning, not 1 meter less." Chapter 17. Mu Qiqi believed that she would be willing to die if that was not what he had said, but Xianxiao's people must be the best in every aspect. Xianxia only tacitly acknowledged that she was his. He did not treat her as a woman. Certainly she was not even 18. Wasn't she too young in every aspect? And with Xianxiao's qualifications, there would be countless women lining up in Jianchuan to climb into his bed if he wanted to. Xianxia looked into Mu Qiqi's eyes carefully, studying her inner thoughts before smiling meaningfully. "Rest. I have something to do." "Okay. You go first." Mu Qiqi nodded sensibly, lowering her head to hide the anticipation in her heart. Xianxia rose from the sofa and promptly left Mu Qiqi's room. Although he did not know what the little girl was thinking about, her face was already red enough. Xianxia had to leave immediately because he did not want to keep his eyes on Mu Qiqi. A 17-year-old girl actually made him want to look at her a few more times. Could Xianxia be short of women? After Xianxia left, Mu Qiqi looked down at her figure beneath the blanket. She was so lacking compared to the models. What should she think of to speed up her development? She was clearly going to be 18 soon. Speaking of which, her birthday was less than 10 days away. Perhaps everyone would have beautiful memories on their birthdays, right? But her birthdays were mostly spent with Papa Mu's scolding or family discipline, and her pride being humiliated in front of countless guests. Mu Qiqi's eyes reddened at that thought. It's fine, she's going to be an adult soon. Meanwhile, the lawyer had received Jing Yun's reply. The client had agreed to Papa Mu's proposal and promised not to stop Mu Tongxue from entering Eton. Having regained some of his dignity, Papa Mu waved his hand and let his daughter go. In his heart, there had always been only the obedient Mu Tongxue. Mu Qiqi was a burden to him in the first place, and he couldn't have asked for more when someone was fighting to raise her for him. Since the contract is signed, I'll go back and report. We'll meet again next time, Mr. and Mrs. Mu. Having accomplished his task, the lawyer quickly left the Mu family's residence with the letter of entrustment. Her daughter was gone just like that. Mama Mu was unwilling, but she did not dare to make a sound. Soon, Papa Mu noticed that Mu Tongxue was hiding in the corner of the living room with one foot exposed. Hence, he relaxed and called out to her, "Come here, Xue." Mu Tongxue had been good at reading people's expressions since she was young. When she saw how relaxed Papa Mu was, she quickly went to his side and sat down. "Xue, you'll be our only daughter from now on. I'll give you the best and the most precious. You're my only treasure." Papa Mu patted Mu Tongxue's back. "Daddy, but you have to keep an eye on Mu Qiqi after you enter Eton. Don't let her do whatever she wants." "Do you understand what I mean?" Papa Mu looked expectantly at Mu Tongxue. That was because he knew how intelligent his youngest daughter was. Mu Qiqi had never been a match for Mu Tongxue since she was young. Even if she had left the Mu family now, it would not change much. "I know, Dad." Mu Tongxue nodded. Although Mu Qiqi did not fall into hell, she was at least unable to return to the Mu family. Mu Qiqi was only being sponsored now. But if she kept causing trouble in school, would the French tycoon still sponsor her? In her dreams, Mu Tongxue's goal in entering Eton was clear. She wanted to continue what she did when she was young, make Mu Qiqi a scapegoat and send her to the 18th layer of hell. I'll get the paperwork done as soon as possible. Thanks, Dad. By the way, our Shuer's birthday is coming. Invite all your classmates to our house for a party. Papa Mu's goal was simple. He wanted everyone to see how he treated the two sisters differently. Mu Tongxue was delighted. It would help her bond with her classmates and pull them to her side. Dad, I want to go to Mu Qiqi's class. No problem. I'll get it done. Mu Qiqi was full of energy the next morning after being sick for a whole night. She was already dressed in her sportswear before the sun rose, and went for a morning jog in the middle of winter. Su Zipei breathed a sigh of relief when she received the guardianship letter. It meant that the Mu family could no longer treat Mu Qiqi as they pleased. That was why Mu Qiqi could live as she pleased now. The only thing that worried Su Zipei was that Mu Tongxue would enter Eton and become Mu Qiqi's classmate. Mu Tongxue was good at acting, but Su Zipei was afraid that Mu Qiqi would fall into her trap just like before. I know what you're thinking, Aunt Zipei. But don't worry, I won't be like before. But if she sets you up, just wait and see. Mu Qiqi replied. After all, she had Xianxia now and she was confident. She would not fear whatever move Mu Tongxue would come up with. Then pack up. We're going to school. Okay. Mu Qiqi put on her school uniform and got into old Lin's car. It was only when she got into the back seat that she realized that Xianxia was sitting in the back. His head was tilted back and his eyes were closed. It was clear that he was not resting well. Brother Xiao, don't say anything. Xianxia told her directly. I've sent my car to be repaired and old Lin is taking you to school today. Mu Qiqi, however, did not think so. Jing Yun would think of something if his car was broken. And the Crown Prince of Huang Yao only had one car? Mu Qiqi did not expose him and kept quiet. Even so, her heart was warm because she was not sure if she was imagining things. Xianxia was coming to make sure that her fever had subsided. Xianxia did not say a word along the way and only spoke when they were close to school. Mu Tongxue will be here today. I know. Mu Qiqi nodded nonchalantly. You're not afraid? I was a little worried that I couldn't handle it at first, but I'm not afraid now that I've seen you. Mu Qiqi said frankly. You're my confidence. Xianxia opened his long and beautiful eyes at Mu Qiqi's words, and took out a pen from his pocket, handing it to Mu Qiqi. An amulet. What kind of amulet is that? Mu Qiqi took it, though she was already beside herself with joy. After all, the pen was still warm from Xingxiao's body temperature. Xingxiao said nothing and simply told her to press a small switch on it. Mu Qiqi understood at once that the pen had a recording function. I'll use it well. Chapter 18. Mu Qiqi smiled in return and waved at the people in the car when they reached the school gates. That was when old Lin watched Mu Qiqi's back worriedly and asked Xingxiao, Young master, aren't you worried? She can handle it. For some reason, Xingxiao did not doubt Mu Qiqi's determination to become stronger. Let's go. Yes, young master. Old Lin rarely saw Xingxiao spending his time on anyone and Mu Qiqi was the first. Even if he didn't know what Xingxiao was thinking, he felt sorry for Mu Qiqi's plight as a father. Many people said that Mu Qiqi's case was inconceivable, but old Lin had seen things that were even more bizarre. The methods adults used to pursue their own interests could be terrifying to the point where one's hair would stand on end. Sometimes even parents and children would seem weak and helpless in front of such things. He only hoped that everything would go well for Mu Qiqi today. Soon Mu Qiqi entered her class, prepared to meet Mu Tongxue. As expected, Mu Tongxue did not disappoint her. The homeroom teacher brought Mu Tongxue to class in the first period of the morning, and the entire class was in an uproar. Qiqi, you look almost the same as that transfer student. Is she a sister or a sister? We didn't hear you mention her before. Mu Tongxue looked at Mu Qiqi. Mu Qiqi did not avert her gaze and simply looked at Mu Tongxue. Then the teacher smiled and introduced, That's right. This is Mu Tongxue, Mu Qiqi's twin sister who just transferred from Van Gogh. Everyone, let's welcome her. Mu Qiqi raised her hand and clapped, but the teacher turned to Mu Qiqi and said, Qiqi, you're in charge of taking care of your sister since she's your sister. Mu Tongxue glared at Mu Qiqi provocatively. Her teacher's words gave Mu Tongxue a reason to stick to Mu Qiqi and bully her like before. But that was when Mu Qiqi suddenly raised her hand and said, I'm sorry, teacher. I think you should move us further away because I don't get along with my sister. Well? The teacher smiled awkwardly. It's fine, teacher. I'll sit here. Mu Tongxue quickly helped her teacher out. That's too much, Chi-Chi. The teacher looked at Mu Chi-Chi reproachfully. So he really loved Mu Chi-Chi. That was because Mu Chi-Chi's grades made it impossible for others to be strict with her. Mentor, I'm just giving you a heads up, lest you wonder why I always bully Mu Tongxue. Alright, you're not allowed to bully your sister, okay? The teacher reminded Mu Chi-Chi. Alright, time is of the essence. Let's get back to class. If there's anything else, we'll talk after class. Tongxue, go to your seat. Mu Tongxue walked to her seat meekly, but there was rage in her eyes. After all, Mu Chi-Chi had not listened to her teacher and accepted the task of taking care of her. Moreover, Mu Chi-Chi had blatantly declared that she would bully her. In fact, Mu Chi-Chi had given everyone a heads up because she knew that Mu Tongxue would put on an act and frame herself for bullying her. With that being the case, she might as well tell everyone the truth first. When Mu Tongxue really put on an act, the teacher would only think that she shouldn't have asked her to take care of Mu Tongxue. Moreover, no one would be surprised even if Mu Tongxue really cried and complained. After all, she had already made it clear. She was putting on an attitude that said, I'm bullying you. If you cry, it means you're the one who's trying to provoke me. On the other hand, she had revealed her relationship with her sister on her own accord to prevent Mu Tongxue from sticking to her and framing her. Now that the entire class knew that they were not on good terms, Mu Tongxue's chances of getting close to her would naturally decrease as well. That was the solution Mu Chi-Chi had thought about last night, and it had to be said that it was very effective for Mu Tongxue. Soon, her desk mate asked Mu Chi-Chi, Chi-Chi, why aren't you on good terms with your sister? You'll know in the future, Mu Chi-Chi said meaningfully. Mu Chi-Chi said meaningfully. By the way, Mu Tongxue and I might look alike, but it's not like we can't tell each other apart. Look at my nose, there's a small mole there but she doesn't. Got it. Her desk mate whispered to Mu Chi-Chi. Your sister looks so delicate. You'll know in the future whether she's delicate or not. With those words, Mu Chi-Chi turned and glanced at Mu Tongxue. The fact that the two sisters had transferred to Eton one after the other and were in the same class was something new to the entire class. Everyone had many questions in mind and were waiting for Mu Chi-Chi to answer them after class. After all, as Xianxia had said, this was her turf. 4 months of interaction with her classmates and the foundation of their friendship had not been built for nothing. Mu Tongxue remained patient and obediently sat in her seat. That way, everyone could clearly differentiate between Mu Chi-Chi and Mu Tongxue. One was active, the other quiet. As expected, the two sisters did not have much interaction when the bell rang. Their classmates crowded around Mu Chi-Chi and asked her about Mu Tongxue. I've seen other twins who never separate. You two are so weird. My family is special. Mu Chi-Chi answered naturally. We don't even have the same guardian. Don't you find it even weirder? The students kept nodding their heads. You'll know why in the future. Mu Chi-Chi deliberately kept them in suspense. Tisde. Can't you say it all at once? Mu Chi-Chi smiled and played around with her classmates, completely ignoring Mu Tongxue's existence. Mu Tongxue felt upset at Mu Chi-Chi's change. Her former shadow had not only overtaken her, but was also no longer afraid of her threats. How could Mu Tongxue bear that at once? It seemed that she would have to do something ruthless to make Mu Chi-Chi listen to her. With a plan in mind, Mu Tongxue took her tray and sat down in front of Mu Chi-Chi's desk mate. Mu Chi-Chi looked up at her and said, There's someone here. I know, sister. I just want to talk to you alone. Mu Tongxue said softly. Mu Chi-Chi put down her knife and fork, folding her arms as she looked at her. What are you up to now? Can't you protect me like you did when you were with Van Gogh? I still need you like I used to. She had to be the scapegoat. Chapter 19. Come to think of it, sis. How did you get the support of a French tycoon? I heard that you were sold by my uncle. Don't tell me it was some dirty deal? Mu Chi-Chi panicked when she heard that. But she kept her composure. You've already got what you want. We all know that Grandma passed away. Who gave her the wrong medicine? I've already left the Mu family. What else do you want? Mu Chi-Chi was a little worried. I want you to keep protecting me. Either way, I want you to be my shadow for the rest of your life. Mu Qiqi stared at Mu Tongshua's confidence and promptly picked up the bowl of porridge and pressed it over Mu Tongshua's head, watching as the sticky stuff slid down Mu Tongshua's head. Of course, the porridge was not hot, and Mu Qiqi had taken a few mouthfuls. That's the past. How dare you, Tongshu, show me all your acting skills. I'm looking forward to it. Many people in the cafeteria saw the sisters' sudden outburst, but it was fortunate that Mu Qiqi's shot of adrenaline was working. While the other classes might not know and thought that Mu Qiqi was cool, her classmates saw it with their own eyes. Mu Tongxue had been eating her lunch alone, and it was Mu Qiqi who approached her on her own. Wasn't she asking for a beating if she went forward despite knowing that she did not like her? Then the teacher sent Mu Qiqi to her office and scolded her. Qiqi, I thought you were joking. You really bullied your sister. Teacher, others might not know that I'm sponsored, but you do. The teacher nodded at Mu Qiqi's words. Why is that? Why is there such a huge gap between you and your sister? Teacher, I won't say anything before I have proof. Just think of it as me bullying Mu Tongxue now. Mu Qiqi told her teacher, feeling wronged. After all, she knew that her teacher would only think that she was lying if nothing happened. Be careful of your image. You can't act recklessly even if your results are good. I know, teacher. You fell sick last night. I have medicine here, so tell me if you're not feeling well. The reason Mu Qiqi threw the porridge at Mu Tongxue was because she knew how much their homeroom teacher admired and loved her. The teacher had seen her change step by step from the lack of confidence she had when she first came to class 3 to where she was now. That was why her love for Mu Qiqi surpassed her concern for other students. After that, Mu Qiqi returned to the classroom. That was when Mu Tongxue realized that she had gone to the administration office, thinking that she had been punished. Qiqi, where did you get this medicine? Her desk mate asked. Teacher gave it to me. She heard that I had a fever last night. Mu Qiqi smiled and answered her classmate, which indirectly shattered Mu Tongshue's suspicions. Why would the teacher punish her for Mu Tongshue's sake? Mu Tongxue said nothing but cursed her teacher inwardly. Were all Eton teachers so blind that they didn't know which side to take? However, I heard that you were amazing in the afternoon. That bowl of porridge was directly smashed onto her head. It's time for class. Stop. Mu Qiqi quickly reminded her desk mate. You don't know how amazing she is. Mu Qiqi knew that Mu Tongxue would use this as a pretext to make a fuss. She just had to wait and see when she would explode, and sure enough, the bell rang for the second afternoon class when a student yelled, "Fainted!" The new student fainted. Soon, the teacher was called over and sent Mu Tongxue to the school's hospital. Since it was a noble school, the facilities of the school's hospital were more advanced than those outside. Later, Mama Mu was informed about Mu Tongshue's fainting, and quickly attacked the homeroom teacher. Why did my daughter faint on her first day in school? Don't be angry, Mrs. Mu. Mommy, don't blame the teacher. I was careless. Mu Tongxue quickly defended her teacher as a drama queen. All right, teacher. You can go back to work now. The teacher turned to leave, but did not leave because she heard what Mu Tongxue said to Mama Mu. It was my sister, who smashed my head in the afternoon. You mean Qiqi? Mama Mu's face changed. It was my sister. The teacher smiled coldly at that and left the school's hospital to return to her post. She thought that she understood why Mu Qiqi did what she did. Still, the Mu family could not do anything to Mu Qiqi since the entire school knew that Mu Qiqi bullied Mu Tongxue. Still, would the Mu family punish Mu Qiqi? That was impossible. Otherwise, people would know that twin sisters were treated differently. The Mu family had always bullied Mu Qiqi, and now Mu Qiqi would repay Mu Tongxue with that. Later, the teacher reprimanded Mu Qiqi in class, since she was already hospitalized. Even so, many students had seen with their own eyes that Mu Qiqi suddenly fainted even though she had splashed porridge on Mu Tongxue. Wasn't that too much? Qiqi, no one would touch your sister in the future. No one would be able to compensate if she suddenly faints. How terrifying. Mu Qiqi's desk mate sighed. How could she come to school with that body? Just stay at home and be a princess. Although the others around them did not know that Mu Tongxue was putting on an act, they at least knew that she was physically weak and could not simply touch her, or they would be the scapegoat. That also meant that the students would not approach the princess on their own. At the end of the day's classes, Mu Qiqi summarized the day's brilliance and was quite satisfied with her performance. After school, Muqiqi headed straight for Old Lin's car, because she had a feeling that Xianxia was there as well. Sure enough, the excuse of fixing the car could be used for days. Meanwhile, Xianxia was leaning against the back seat. His handsome face appeared lazy and tired, but his eyes were as bright as amber and shockingly beautiful. Bullied. Muqiqi shook her head and took out her notebook. I've written down a plan to deal with Mu Tongxue last night, and I wasn't bullied today. Xianxia snatched the notebook from her hand and flipped through her childish plan. I'm confiscating it. Why? Xianxia straightened and looked at her playfully. Because I want you to bully others to become second nature. And not according to a plan. I'm the source of your confidence. The Mu family wouldn't be able to do anything to you even if Mu Tongxue was hospitalized, much less just fainting. So, he knew. Then why did he ask her? Chapter 20. When he saw how excited Muqiqi was, Xianxia knew that she had found confidence in her retaliation against Mu Tongxue. The little girl had a temper and was worth teaching. Your recording pen hasn't been put to use yet, but I believe it will be useful in the future. Muqiqi took out the pen from her bag and held it in her palm like a treasure. You gave it to me especially. Xianxia was a little moved at Muqiqi's words. There were millions of people who fawned over him in this world, but none of them would worship his pen as a holy relic. Muqiqi seemed to treasure every gift he gave her. Xianxia said nothing and quietly looked at Muqiqi's head. That was when Jingyun called. Young master, master wants to see you. I'll be right there. Xianxia hung up and told Muqiqi, rest well when you get home and don't let your imagination run wild. Hurry up if you have something to do. Muqiqi quickly said. Xianxia had Old Lin drop him off by the roadside and have Jingyun pick him up. At that, Old Lin cheerfully told Muqiqi, Miss Qiqi, young master didn't say it but I could feel that he was worried about you. Muqiqi lowered her head and chuckled at that, suddenly feeling that she was very close to Xianxiao. Xianxiao's entire aura changed after he got into Jingyun's car. In front of Muqiqi he was relaxed and lazy just like a devil's son. But he was not aggressive at all. Even so, it was a different story in front of outsiders. Anyone who infringed on his rights, no matter who it was, he would send them straight in and out. That was why Xianxiao's face darkened at once when Jingyun mentioned that his family was causing trouble in the hospital. Young master, the higher-ups of the company are dissatisfied with the way you handle things. That's why they came to the hospital several times, but master managed to suppress them. What? Dissatisfied? Xianxiao said coldly. Your ruthless methods have left them with nothing to gain, so they are naturally dissatisfied and want to take advantage of your mistakes. Xianxiao snorted coldly and entered the ward. Seeing his father lying on the bed, he approached him. Xianxiao, why did you suddenly leave in the middle of the meeting? Papa Xing asked. I know you are very capable, but discipline is the most important thing in managing a company. Old man, since you put me in charge, don't ask about my methods, Xianxiao replied directly. I'll wait for you to be discharged. Papa Xing did not say much and simply gestured for Jingyun to follow. Jingyun followed closely behind him and reminded him, Young master, you've been going to the small mansion too often lately. Don't think that I'm really the crown prince just because the outside world calls me the crown prince. You can decide how many times I go to the toilet. Xianxiao said angrily. It's my freedom to go wherever I want. Young master, I'm just afraid that you'll fall for it. You should know that the Sheng family doesn't have freedom of marriage. Save those words for the other members of the Xing family. Whoever annoys me, I'll make their entire family unhappy. With that, Xianxiao turned and left the hospital. Jingyun sighed. He really couldn't do anything about Xianxiao. At the same time, he hoped that Muqiqi's negligible influence would not make Xianxiao lose his mind. As a matter of fact, Xianxiao might appear to be adept at handling relationships between men and women. In fact, that was his domineering style to the outside world, but the truth was that Xianxiao was a blank when it came to relationships. Countless women would approach him every day, but Xianxiao would only take a glance at them and then completely despise them. After all, while he appeared to have no lack of luck with women, he was very cautious about relationships. In fact, he valued them more than his own life. Meanwhile, Mu Tongxue had fainted on her first day of classes at Eton. Papa Mu was very concerned about his daughter's health when she returned home, just as he was concerned about Mu Qiqi's movements at school. Tongxue, is your sister causing any trouble at school? No. Mu Tongxue shook her head at Papa Mu. I knew it. Mu Qiqi wouldn't be able to do anything as long as you're here. Go back to your room and rest. Papa Mu thought that Mu Tongxue could still subdue Mu Qiqi, and was very satisfied with her answer. Mu Tongxue knew very well that she had acted weak at home because she wanted her sister to be the scapegoat. But now she had to be a chess piece in her father's hands, so that he would give her more attention and love. Mu Tongshue's face turned cold at the memory of Mu Qiqi's humiliation today. She had made a mistake today, and that was all Mu Qiqi had up her sleeve. Did she not know Mu Qiqi? He was a paper tiger. Tomorrow she would start all over again. She would reclaim her dominant position. Mu Qiqi had defeated Mu Tongxue today, and Su Zipei had prepared a sumptuous dinner for her. Mu Qiqi looked at the food on the table. Although she liked it very much, she lost her appetite when she thought about her figure. What is it? Aunt Zipei, isn't my figure a little flat? Mu Qiqi felt a little inferior about it. I'm already 18, but I haven't straightened out here. Why are you suddenly concerned about that? Su Zipei studied her from head to toe. It's fine. There's nothing wrong. Forget it. You wouldn't understand even if I told you. Why don't I buy you some nourishing herbs? Sure. Mu Qiqi quickly nodded. Hence, after dinner, Mu Qiqi went to her room to search for information online. She wanted to know how to make a girl's figure more perfect during puberty. What else could it be? Mu Qiqi could not help blushing as she leaned over her computer desk. That was because she wanted to attract Xing Zhao's attention. But when she thought about it, Xing Zhao had helped and protected her, and yet she had thoughts about him that crossed the line. Was that not biting the hand that fed her? Moreover, the fact that Xing Zhao had helped her was enough to upset him. If the Xing family learned of her existence and their families were enemies, Mu Qiqi felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over her head at that thought, and she suddenly became very clear-headed. She really shouldn't have. However, how could she control such a matter? As such, Mu Qiqi wrote down her thoughts in her diary. It was precisely because of Mu Qiqi's changes that Su Zipei noticed something unusual. That was why she asked old Lin the next morning, Brother Lin, did you see Mu Qiqi getting close to any boys when she went to school? Old Lin, who was cleaning his car, thought about it and shook his head when he heard Su Zipei's question. No. Why? Chapter 21. Aren't you being too sensitive? Miss Qiqi has been busy dealing with her sister recently. Where would she find the time? Old Lin explained. It would be best if she doesn't. I don't want her to get involved in a relationship too early. Su Zipei said worriedly. Then why don't you tell young master that Miss Qiqi listens to him the most? Su Zipei was not thinking about that at all. All she knew was that Mu Qiqi only worshipped Xing Zhao and treated him like a brother. And the thing that reassured her the most was that Xing Zhao would not be interested in Mu Qiqi. From what she could see, someone like Xing Zhao would prefer hot and direct women, and not a little girl like Mu Qiqi. That's right. I have to warn young Master Xing. Moreover, it was a matter that could not be delayed. With that thought, she woke him up early in the morning. Holding back his anger, Xing Zhao answered the call. I'm sorry, young Master Xing. Did I disturb you? Did something happen to Mu Qiqi? Xing Zhao sat up on the big white bed, revealing his sexy, muscular upper body. No, I just have something I want to discuss with you. Tell me. I suspect that Mu Qiqi is in a relationship. Su Zipei told him seriously. Xing Zhao's eyes darkened at that, and he asked Su Zipei in return, why do you think so? She has been paying attention to her figure recently, and has started writing in her diary. Aren't those things a girl in a relationship would think about? Su Zipei told Xing Zhao about her suspicions. I know that Mu Qiqi worships you now even if she doesn't tell me. That is why I would ask you to persuade her to focus on her studies. After all, she has just left the Mu family and she has to work hard to control her life from now on. Xing Zhao smiled discreetly at Su Zipei's words. That girl thinks a lot. Isn't that so? I'll keep an eye out. Don't worry. Then I'm not worried. Su Zipei breathed a sigh of relief at Xing Zhao's answer. Even so, she did not know that the most dangerous person was right in front of her, even though he was far away. Why did Suzy Pei assume that Mu Qiqi's puppy love partner was someone from school? That was because Mu Qiqi had met Xianxia many times without letting Suzy Pei know, just as she was not aware that Xianxia had appeared in Old Lin's car. She assumed that Mu Qiqi did not have many ties with Xianxia, which was why it was unlikely that it was him. However, Xianxia was smiling inwardly after hanging up. For some reason he was in a great mood even though he was woken up early in the morning. The little lass was indeed thinking too much. Pay attention to your figure? From the looks of it, she hadn't figured out his taste. He didn't like hot girls. But when he thought about it, what if the little girl didn't care about him? Xing Zhao's mood turned gloomy when he realized that possibility. If he found out that Mu Qiqi was too close to another boy, at that thought, Xianxia quickly got dressed and left the house. After all, he could use the excuse that his car was broken for a few days. Since the little girl was not in school, he had Old Lin pick her up, and when Mu Qiqi stepped out of the house, she found the man in the car. The man she wanted to see was the source of all her courage. Your car isn't fixed yet? Mu Qiqi smiled. Mu Qiqi, you haven't forgotten why you came to school, have you? Xianxia suddenly asked Mu Qiqi seriously. Of course I remember. Good. Actually, that was not what Xianxia wanted to ask. Still, he couldn't just sell Suzy Pei out like that. In fact, he just wanted to know if the person Mu Qiqi was looking at was himself. What's wrong? I'm just worried that you're having puppy love in school. Xianxia suddenly became stern. The Mu family has been eyeing you covetously. It's best you give up on that thought as soon as possible. Mu Qiqi quickly lowered her head at Xianxia's words, as if her secret had been exposed. Was puppy love not allowed? Or was puppy love not allowed in school? I don't like anyone in school. Mu Qiqi told Xianxia confidently. So don't worry. I won't have puppy love in school. Okay. Xianxia nodded in satisfaction after getting the answer he wanted. Because he got the answer he wanted, Mu Qiqi did not like anyone in school. Mu Qiqi was being a little petty, because she was only targeting Xianxia's question. Even if she did not have puppy love in school, it did not mean that she did not like anyone outside school. Miss Mu, young master is doing this for your own good. Miss Su is just worried about you. Mu Qiqi suddenly remembered that she had asked Suzy Pei about her figure last night. Could Suzy Pei have told everyone about it? Why are you blushing? Xing Zhao's interest was piqued when he saw the change in Mu Qiqi's expression. What's there to blush about with that figure of yours? As expected. Well, I'm getting out of the car now. With those words, Mu Qiqi opened the car door and hurried towards the school gates. Old Lin said to Xianxia when he saw that. Miss Mu Qiqi doesn't have such thoughts. You're all thinking too much, young master. He knew better than anyone else whether Mu Qiqi had such thoughts. Still, he had his concerns. What if Mu Qiqi could not hide her feelings one day and everyone around her could tell? What would happen to him then? What's more, he didn't even know if he was just enjoying a little girl's worship. He had never felt such emotions for any woman before. How could he differentiate now? Mu Qiqi did not know that Xing Zhao's heart was in turmoil as well. She simply covered her pounding heart as she entered the classroom. Why did Aunt Pei tell a man about such an embarrassing thing? Mu Qiqi found Mu Tongxue, who had arrived earlier than her when she entered the school. When her desk mate saw that, she immediately pulled Mu Qiqi aside and said, "This sister of yours really knows how to please people. She has already bought breakfast for the whole class since early in the morning. Not only that, she even knows what everyone likes and dislikes. If this goes on, everyone will soon be bought over by her." Then why aren't you? Mu Qiqi asked her desk mate in return. I'm your desk mate. What are you going to do if I'm not on your side? Mu Qiqi smiled and patted her desk mate on the shoulder. I know you're good to me and I'll remember your kindness. I say, why is there such a huge conflict between you two sisters? Isn't it obvious that she's targeting you? We've bought breakfast for the entire class but not for you. She's so scheming. You're at a disadvantage. Chapter 22. Still, it must be said that Mu Tongxue's little scheme worked. Her classmates were slowly letting go of their discomfort towards her, wiping away the bad impression they had of her yesterday. Some of them even came up to her to talk to her. Mu Tongxue thought that it had taken Mu Qiqi 4 months to assimilate into the environment, but she would only need 4 days. And when that happens, she would definitely make sure Mu Qiqi would be ostracized by the whole class. Mu Qiqi was aware of Mu Tongshue's plan, but it was only because of her patience and inaction that Mu Tongxue gained that advantage before. Would she tolerate it for nothing now? After class, the homeroom teacher entered the classroom with a name list and smiled at everyone. There's an international mathematical Olympiad coming up in City A, and our school has been asked to recommend 2 students. Fortunately, there's one in our class. I've learned about Mu Tongshue's results, and that the school always sent you to Van Gogh to participate in competitions. You are very experienced. Everyone in the class turned to look at Mu Tongxue. They did not expect her to be so good even though she was so soft and weak. Yes, Professor. Mu Tongxue quickly answered with a smile. Could the teacher be sending her this time too? However, I've checked your results. From what I've seen so far, Mu Qiqi's math results are better than yours. She's also more knowledgeable than you. So this time I've decided to recommend Mu Qiqi to fight for the honor of our class. Do you have any objections? It's not that we have any objections, Professor. Mu Qiqi should be the one doing it. She gets full marks in math. That's right. Mu Qiqi should go with full marks. Her classmates promptly gave their trust to Mu Qiqi. The teacher smiled as well. Then it's decided. You have to work hard, Mu Qiqi. I know, Professor. Mu Qiqi's confidence had been boosted by her excellent grades. In school, good grades were a skill that allowed one to get close to others easily. That was why Mu Tongxue, who had been one of the best in Van Gogh, was pushed out of the top 20 and eaten in an instant. She could not help feeling jealous when she saw Mu Qiqi being admired and envied by the whole class. In the past, Mu Qiqi's grades had always been at the bottom. Unexpectedly, she improved by leaps and bounds in just 4 months. That was when a classmate lowered his head and asked Mu Tongxue, "Is Qiqi that good in Van Gogh?" Mu Tongxue smiled but did not answer. After all, Mu Qiqi was an ugly duckling in Van Gogh. Now that she thought about it, Mu Qiqi's competition was a good opportunity for her to win over her classmates. Moreover, Mu Qiqi would be gone for 2 days. When she came back, she could give Mu Qiqi a big gift. After school, Mu Qiqi was ready to leave when she was called to the teacher's office. "Qiqi, go to City A tomorrow and participate in the competition." "Teacher, do you have something to say to me?" Mu Qiqi was sensitive enough to notice her teacher's intentions. "Do your best. In school I will support you in everything." "I understand." Mu Qiqi nodded and smiled. No matter what her teacher discovered or saw, she was certain that he was now completely on her side. At the very least, not everyone would be bought over by Mu Tongshue's little tricks. When she got home, Mu Qiqi told Su Zipei that she was going to City A to participate in the mathematics competition. Su Zipei was delighted for Mu Qiqi. Our Qiqi is becoming more and more promising. Still, Mu Qiqi knew that she would be away for 2 days. Mu Qiqi knew that Mu Tongxue would wait for an opportunity when she was not in school. That night, Mu Qiqi packed her luggage at home, her eyes never leaving her phone. She felt that she should tell Xianxia that she was going to City A, but she also felt that she should not trouble him over such a trivial matter. The next morning, Mu Qiqi left her bag in old Lin's car. It was a pity that she did not see Xianxia as she wished. "Will you be all right alone in City A?" Mu Qiqi shook her head in response to Su Zipei's question. "It's fine, Aunt Zipei. Then come back early." Mu Qiqi then turned and got into the car. Old Lin glanced at her through the rearview mirror and asked, "Miss Qiqi, are you waiting for young master?" "No." With young master's personality, he always comes and goes without a trace. There's no pattern to what he does, which is why you don't have to wait for him. Just tell him if there's anything and make an appointment with him. Mu Qiqi looked down at the phone in her hand at old Lin's words. After some thought, she sent Xianxia a message. "I'm going to City A for the competition." All Mu Qiqi wanted was to see Xianxia. Even if she could not, she would feel assured just by hearing his voice. As expected, Xianxia called her immediately after receiving the message. "Why didn't you tell me yesterday? I thought you were busy and didn't want to disturb you. Where are you staying tonight?" Xianxia completely ignored her. He was only worried that there was no one to take care of her when she was alone outside. "The school has arrangements. Don't worry." Mu Qiqi replied. "Do your best." With those 3 words, he hung up because she could tell that he was having a meeting on the other end. Meanwhile, Mu Qiqi suddenly felt assured when she heard Xingzhao's voice. With that, she would have the courage to face any difficulties. Mu Tongxue glanced at Mu Qiqi's desk when she saw that she was absent from school because of the competition. Even now, there were people who kept asking her why she and Mu Qiqi were separated even though they were twins. Mu Tongxue smiled and kept her mouth shut. Soon, however, a student in Van Gogh's campus made a post with an interesting title. I heard that our bottom-ranking queen has turned things around at Eton. Below the post was a list of Mu Qiqi's demerits in school, as well as her ranking over the years. Soon the contents of the post spread, with the Van Gogh students who had friends at Eton taking screenshots of the interesting post and showing it to their friends. The eye-catching demerits and bottom ranking piqued everyone's interest in Mu Qiqi, especially her classmates. They were surprised when they saw the post. Mu Qiqi is actually that bad? Isn't she a troublemaker? Her results were so bad before and she even quit school. Did she transfer to Eton because she couldn't make it in Van Gogh? I suspect that she cheated to get such good results at Eton. The entire class was left in heated discussion over the post. Even Mu Qiqi's desk mate was left in disbelief when she saw the post. Was that really Mu Qiqi? Chapter 23. Her desk mate couldn't help sending Mu Qiqi a message. Meanwhile, Mu Qiqi had just finished her competition and was about to return home. Qiqi, look at the picture I sent you. Mu Qiqi enlarged the picture and saw her various achievements in Van Gogh. Mu Qiqi's heart tightened and she panicked. Where did this come from? It's from Van Gogh. Her desk mate replied. Qiqi, were you really like this before? Last place in Van Gogh? And you like to cause trouble? The students are very disappointed in you now, and are even saying that they regret letting you represent the class in the competition. Do you trust me, Xianxia? Mu Qiqi asked her desk mate in return. Of course I trust you. Why else would I tell you? Then wait for me to come back. Don't worry, I'll give everyone an explanation. Mu Qiqi said to her desk mate. After that she looked at her results again. It was indeed not pleasing to her eyes. Moreover, those serious demerits were a stark reminder to Mu Qiqi of how much she had been made a scapegoat for Mu Tongxue. Knowing that exposing her in Eton would raise suspicions, Mu Tongxue had someone from Van Gogh expose her and spread the news to Eton. Her younger sister's scheming was no joke. When the teachers at Eton saw the news, they told their classmates not to slander their own classmate. After all, Mu Qiqi's current results were clear for all to see. Moreover, Mu Qiqi was now fighting for the class. Still, that did not stop the students from gossiping about Mu Qiqi. Of course, they would harass Mu Tongxue as well, asking her if Mu Qiqi was as bad as she was in Van Gogh. Mu Tongxue would not answer anyone's question. While it appeared as if she was protecting her sister, it was in fact a silent admission. After the competition, Mu Qiqi returned to the small Jianchuan mansion from City A. Still, Susie Pei could tell that she had something on her mind. After all, her expression was somber and she asked, "What is it? You look terrible. Did you not do well?" Mu Qiqi threw herself into Susie Pei's arms and hugged her. Auntie Pei, Mu Tongxue spread the news about my results in Van Gogh to everyone in Eton. Everyone now knows that I was bad in Van Gogh and that I was at the bottom. Did she really do that? Mu Qiqi sent the message to her aunt. Susie Pei could not help but sigh. Your sister is really good at acting. Don't be sad, Qiqi. Auntie, I'm not sad. On the way back, I've already thought of a countermeasure. After all, those are all black spots that I can't erase. Since that's the case, I can't hide no matter how hard I try. I should learn to face it. I tried to avoid it before, but now that I've been exposed, it's no big deal. Hearing that, Susie Pei smiled happily. You've really grown up. You've become more magnanimous and sensible. Auntie, I'll go back to my room to rest. I'm a little tired. Go, I'll call you after dinner. Susie Pei pushed her to her room. In fact, Susie Pei's heart ached for Mu Qiqi. Who would be able to take it if it were someone else? Sighing, she was about to go out to buy groceries and prepare a sumptuous dinner for Mu Qiqi when Xianxia entered the small mansion. Young Master Xing. I'm taking Qiqi out for dinner tonight. Xianxia told Susie Pei. All right, young Master Xing. That's good too. I hope she would be happier when she's with you. Susie Pei nodded. Xianxia had already learned from Jing Yun that Mu Qiqi's incident at Van Gogh had been exposed by Mu Tongxue. It was clear that Mu Tongxue was quite a talent for her to be so scheming. Then Su Zipei went upstairs to tell Mu Qiqi, "Young Master Xing is here. He's waiting for you downstairs. He said he's taking you out for dinner." "Really?" Mu Qiqi asked excitedly. "Really? Get changed and come down." Su Zipei smiled. Mu Qiqi quickly nodded and changed into a pink coat that looked more ladylike. She went downstairs because she remembered that the heroines in Korean dramas always acted like that and they looked good in that way too. Xianxia waved her off, unaccustomed to it. "Change. Don't I look good?" Mu Qiqi was taken aback. "I don't like it," Xianxia answered directly. Mu Qiqi quickly returned to her room at those words and changed into her usual style, returning to Xianxia. "How about this? It's much more pleasing to the eye. Let's go." Mu Qiqi followed behind Xianxia and saw that he was actually driving her yellow sports car. It was fixed just like that. "Where are we going?" "You'll know soon." With that, Xianxia opened the car door and led Mu Qiqi to a revolving restaurant near the amusement park. Mu Qiqi was moved when she saw the twinkling lights of the amusement park. "I've never had fun here before. I won't take you there." Xianxia answered her directly. "Forget it." Mu Qiqi shook her head at that. "I don't want you to come with me even if you're willing. It's beneath your status." Xingzhao's eyes darkened considerably at once. "Brother Xiao, what did you call me?" Xingzhao lifted Mu Qiqi's chin across the table and asked her dangerously. "So, brother, I'm asking what do you want to call me in your heart?" Xingzhao pressed, staring straight into Mu Qiqi's eyes. So. Mu Qiqi boldly replied. "Isn't that a little impolite? I just think about it occasionally. I'll reward you with that." Unexpectedly, Xingzhao said generously without even lifting an eyelid. Mu Qiqi stared at Xingzhao in disbelief. "Are you saying that I can call you Xiao Xiao?" "Only after people," Xingzhao emphasized before asking, "I've heard about what happened at school. Are you scared?" Mu Qiqi shook her head. "No. I've told you that I'm no longer a member of the Mu family. I won't hold back if Mu Tongxue bullies me again." Xingzhao looked at Mu Qiqi appreciatively and smiled. "Do you have a plan?" "Yes. Because I know that it's not shameful to have my past dug out." Mu Qiqi answered Xingzhao determinedly, although she kept the second half of her sentence inside her heart and did not dare to say it out loud. "And because you're by my side, I have the courage to conquer everything. I'll be waiting for your performance tomorrow. Since you're so determined, I'll reluctantly take a ride on the Ferris wheel with you." "Really?" Mu Qiqi confirmed, overwhelmed by the favor. "You don't believe me? Then I won't go." "Yes, we'll go after dinner." Mu Qiqi quickly admitted defeat. Xianxia, who should be having a candlelight dinner with a beauty, now seemed more willing to do something as childish as riding a Ferris wheel with a little girl. And for no other reason. Just because it was comfortable. Chapter 24. Mu Qiqi was very excited. Her entire body was immersed in the pink bubbles, and she was in a hurry as she went downstairs. It was only when she entered the Ferris wheel that she calmed down, because Xingzhao was sitting beside her. He was really handsome from the side, especially when others did not even have the right to approach Xingzhao, while she could joke around beside him. That gave Mu Qiqi the illusion that she was special to Xingzhao. "Is it that nice?" Xingzhao had his eyes closed at first, but he could not avoid Mu Qiqi's passionate gaze and so simply asked. "It's beautiful," Mu Qiqi said, pointing at the scenery outside. "The night view of Jianchuan is beautiful in the first place." Xingzhao laughed mockingly but did not expose Mu Qiqi. "Country bumpkin." Mu Qiqi laughed heartily. At least she felt that she had never been so happy and blissful in the Mu family. Mu Qiqi treasured her time inside the Ferris wheel. She hoped that it would last longer, just a little longer. But time was always so short. "Let's go home." It had been long enough. Mu Qiqi needed to rest for the night since she still had to fight Mu Tongxue tomorrow, which was why Xingzhao did not allow her to stay outside for long. Although Mu Qiqi was disappointed, she told herself that she must be satisfied. What if the heavens took away all the happiness she had left if she was too greedy? When Su Zipei saw that Mu Qiqi was completely different from when she came back, she knew how important Xingzhao was to Mu Qiqi. So she smiled and said, Thank you, young Master Xing, for being there for Mu Qiqi when she is sad. Xiao said nothing and simply turned away suavely. It was only when he returned to his sports car that he could feel his racing heartbeat. Why was it so easy to be addicted? Meanwhile, Mu Qiqi was lying by her window, watching as Xiao left before returning to her little bed and sat down dejectedly. She wanted more chances to be alone with Xiao, but it seemed to be wishful thinking. Even so, he allowed her to call him Xiao. He allowed it. Mu Qiqi's heart was beating very fast. She simply flipped open her phone, but her expression became very serious when she saw the message Xian had sent her. She had to rest up now for a good fight with Mu Tongxue tomorrow. When Xiao reached home, Mama Xing was sitting in the living room. When she saw her son, she immediately greeted him with a smile. Xiao, come here. Let's talk. Xiao glanced at his mother and then at the photos on the table. He suddenly had an idea. Mom, what's it like this time? I know that my son doesn't even fancy heaven immortals, but you're already 26 this year. You should get married, right? Mama Xing pulled him to sit down. The other brothers of the Xing family have already had their second child at your age. Shouldn't you think about it? Xiao looked at the young ladies and then at his mother. Mom, don't let me see these things in the future. You know my temper. But, Mom, let me put it this way. If Dad forces me to marry her, I'll agree. Mama Xing laughed at that because she did not hear what Xiao was going to say next. However, I will treat her harshly, abuse her and even beat her up. At that time, hand over her corpse and don't blame me for not informing you. At that very moment, Mama Xing's smile froze on her face. I still have things to do tomorrow. I'm going to bed. Good night, Mom. With that, Xiao rose and rushed back to his room at a speed that Mama Xing could not catch up to. Knowing the Xing family's circumstances, he had to make his stance clear. Moreover, ever since Mu Qiqi came, he was even less interested in finding a woman. He could not even take care of that little girl. The next day, Mu Qiqi woke up early. Su Zipei was a little worried when she saw her eating breakfast calmly. About the school, don't worry, Aunt Zipei. I'll take care of it. Mu Qiqi smiled at Su Zipei. Really, it's fine. I can handle it. Mu Qiqi assured Su Zipei confidently. With the sun in her heart, there was no fear of darkness. At that thought, Mu Qiqi tightened her grip on the pen in her hand. It was the only thing that once belonged to Xiao. It was as if Xiao's warmth still lingered on it. Oh, be careful. Call young Master Xing if you encounter anything you can't handle. There was reason for Su Zipei's worry. There was no telling how much Mu Tongxue had bewitched the students after Mu Qiqi's 2 days away. If Mu Qiqi was bullied again because of Mu Tongxue, she knew that the confidence Mu Qiqi had built up after much difficulty would be destroyed. Mu Qiqi smiled faintly despite being aware of Su Zipei's worry. She had to act and convince her aunt that she could handle it. Soon Mu Qiqi got into Old Lin's car and soon reached Eton. However, the rumor spread too quickly. Moreover, it was such explosive gossip for the students that everyone naturally did not hold back when they saw Mu Qiqi in person. Look, that's the Mu Qiqi that Van Gogh dropped. That's her. Didn't she copy her exam results? She's always hanging out with bad people. Rumor has it that one of her students even had an abortion. Disgusting. Someone like her doesn't deserve to stay in Eton. Mu Qiqi was aware that everyone around her was scolding her, insulting her and misunderstanding her. But she was not as fearful as before, especially when she bumped into Mu Tongxue at the gates of her class. There was no sign of submission in her eyes, and she was as determined as ever. You're back, sister. Yes, I'm back. Mu Qiqi nodded. Aren't you afraid I'll bully you by sticking so close to me? Sister, you should solve your current predicament. The rumors are nasty. Everyone in the class hates you. I'm really worried for you. Mu Qiqi laughed coldly and returned to her seat. Xian, who was sitting beside her, asked, "What did you say to that scheming sister of yours?" "She's waiting for me to kneel and kowtow to her." Mu Qiqi replied. "Because I'm being ostracized by the whole class, so I have to ask her for help. I get goosebumps just thinking about it." Xian hugged her shoulders and said darkly, "But how are you going to explain all this to your classmates?" Chapter 25. Soon the teacher entered the classroom and leveled a meaningful gaze at Mu Qiqi. After all, Mu Qiqi had already approached the teacher before she entered the classroom. Please give me a chance to explain myself in front of the class. The teacher glanced at her and nodded. You mustn't disappoint me. You must convince everyone. Don't worry, teacher. Mu Qiqi's gaze was very determined. That was why they were exchanging glances in the classroom. Before we start, I have something to say. After all, this concerns the honor of our class. That is why, Mu Qiqi, stand up and explain to everyone what Van Gogh's post is all about. In that instant, everyone turned to look at Mu Qiqi. Mu Tongxue, on the other hand, smiled coldly as if she was watching a show. She would like to see how Mu Qiqi would explain her past blemishes. Moreover, wasn't it obvious that she wanted Mu Qiqi to embarrass herself by being called out like that? For some reason, Mu Tongxue felt that she was starting to like her teacher. Or was she suddenly understanding the bigger picture? As everyone looked at her doubtfully, Mu Qiqi rose to her feet and bowed deeply at everyone before saying, As a classmate, I'm very sorry for making everyone laugh at me. But everything that was revealed in Van Gogh's post is true. The entire class was left speechless at Mu Qiqi's words. They never thought that Mu Qiqi would directly admit it. It was also out of Mu Tongshue's expectations. She had thought that Mu Qiqi would shirk everything. Are you crazy, Qiqi? Xianxia quickly tugged at Mu Qiqi's sleeve to remind her. Wouldn't she be hated to death? Xianxia could feel the disgust directed at her from all directions. Was Mu Qiqi going to go all out now? But Mu Qiqi's tone changed. But what I admit is only limited to the punishment that the school gave me and the results that were exposed. As for the rest, such as smoking with the gangsters and having an abortion, they were all fabricated. I skipped school, skipped classes, pranked teachers and classmates, and occasionally went to the school's broadcasting room to cause trouble. I violated the school's rules, but I didn't do anything to harm others. I just didn't like studying. I believe everyone must be wondering why I would bully Tongxue, and why we are not close. Let me tell you, Tongxue has always been sick since she was young and her body is delicate. That is why she was loved and cared for by my parents. That is why my heart was hurt and I yearned for their love. That is why I became bad, got into fights, got demerits and got last place in grades, all because I wanted my parents to care for me. But I realized that no matter what I did, it was useless. Everything I did was wrong. In the end, my parents didn't even want to acknowledge me and left me in my aunt's care. Why would they do that to me? I asked my aunt countless times and she told me that as long as you worked hard, you'd definitely be liked. So I started working hard. When I first arrived at Eton, I read day and night, and I believe everyone can see that. I admit that I was a bad child, but can't bad children learn well? Naughty child, can't you suddenly want to study hard? Can't bad children learn hard just because they are sensible? Teacher, bad children like us lack love in the first place. Can't we keep our pride? The other students in the class were silent at Mu Qiqi's words. You can suspect me of cheating, but it's fine. I can prove myself through countless tests and I don't blame you. After all, my grades have improved by leaps and bounds in 4 months. I can't believe it myself, but I've worked 10 times harder. If it's because of me that I've caused trouble for everyone, I apologize. But I will prove myself as always. With that, Mu Qiqi bowed and apologized again. At that, the entire class erupted in applause. After all, in their eyes, Mu Qiqi was an example of a successful comeback. And everyone was naturally tolerant of bad children turning over a new leaf. Moreover, Mu Qiqi gloomily revealed the disparity in treatment she received at home, explaining why she kept bullying Tongxue. And with her desperate efforts when she first came to Eton, the students gladly accepted that Mu Qiqi was a good child. Qiqi has explained herself to the roomers. What do you think? The teacher asked after Mu Qiqi took her seat. I think Qiqi is very brave, admitting her mistakes and reining in before it's too late. Xianxia quickly raised her hand in support of her desk mate. Actually, Qiqi is very inspirational. I think so too. She's very persistent and didn't give up on herself. That's really great. No wonder Tongxue was the only one who invited us to her birthday party even though they shared the same birthday. It turns out that Qiqi's parents don't care about her at all. He's so pitiful. The students all expressed their trust in Mu Qiqi, which left Mu Tongxue very unhappy. In other words, Mu Qiqi's explanation in class soon spread throughout the entire school. She had suddenly turned from a bad girl to a role model, a legendary student who rose from trash to genius in 4 months. Many students who had similar experiences came to her in secret, begging her to share their learning experiences, and she was willing to lend her notes to others to copy. That naturally dispelled the rumor that she had plagiarized her grades. Mu Tongxue shot Mu Qiqi a hateful glare from afar when she saw that she was surrounded by her classmates right after class. Because she did not expect Mu Qiqi to use such a move. She would rather confess everything to Mu Qiqi after putting herself at death's door. Qiqi, where are you looking at? Quick, help me with this question. Mu Qiqi smiled apologetically at her classmate and explained, "Can I have a few words with Mu Tongxue first?" Her classmate took the papers and led her out of the crowd to Mu Tongshue's side, asking, "Are my answers satisfactory?" "Sis, I don't understand what you're saying." "It's fine if you don't understand as long as you do. Do you think I'll keep giving in to you? I'll make you return what I've lost in the future. Mu Tongxue, your tricks are completely useless against me." With those words, Mu Qiqi walked past Mu Tongxue and bumped her shoulder hard. Mu Tongxue clenched her fists, because there was nothing she could do about Mu Qiqi at that very moment. Be that as it may, Mu Tongxue sneered inwardly. "Return? How? Mom and Dad just don't want you, Mu Qiqi. No matter how excellent you are now, you're just a little animal that no one wants. I'll humiliate you in the birthday party if you dare to compete with me, sis." You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.